Foi lá? Boa noite, boa noite. Hoje a gente começa mais um episódio do podcast mais esperado, do episódio mais esperado desse podcast, que é o episódio com o Stefan Georgi. Eu sei que todo mundo aqui estava esperando ele e, sinceramente, estou até um pouco nervoso. E é um prazer estar aqui com vocês, de verdade. Estou aqui com o Ygor e o João também. E é isso. Tô até meio me tremendo aqui.
O episódio de hoje, pessoal, vai ser em inglês, né? Então a gente vai só apresentar aqui os nossos patrocinadores, né? São 3 recados rapidinhos antes da gente começar a conversar com o Stefan. O primeiro patrocinador que eu quero agradecer é a Hospedagem, a melhor e maior hospedagem do Brasil voltada para PLRs, né? Então, se você está precisando de seu site hospedar em algum lugar que tem um preço camarada e uma qualidade respeitável, Hospedagem, link na descrição. Mais um patrocinador que a gente tem que agradecer é o Dogão Designer. Se você precisa de arte, criativo, site, qualquer coisa, na verdade, relacionada a design, procura ele, fala com ele que ele também só presta serviço de qualidade, com preço camarada. O link também está na descrição. E se você quer estar no melhor e mais completo fórum de Black Hat da América Latina, a melhor forma de você participar é através do nosso link de afiliado, porque dessa forma você contribui para a realização desse projeto, né, de estar fazendo esse podcast viver. Então é só seguir o link na descrição e tem um bônus, né, um bônus para quem se cadastra pelo nosso link, que é a possibilidade de estar fazendo perguntas para os nossos convidados. Então já pensou fazer uma pergunta diretamente para o Stefan? É isso aí, segue pelo nosso link que você vai poder fazer para os nossos próximos convidados.
Pô, é justamente isso aí que tudo Igor falou. Então segue lá nossos patrocinadores. E só mais uma coisa, né, que eu tenho para falar é que a gente também, né, o Stefan ele disponibilizou para a gente um PDF que é quase como um glossário. O negócio parece um livro, 160 páginas, e a gente vai disponibilizar para vocês da live e a gente bateu uma meta. Então, deixa eu dar uma olhada aqui. A gente está com 339 pessoas agora na live. A gente vai botar, se até amanhã, meia-noite, a gente bater 400 reposts nos stories, a gente vai disponibilizar para vocês esse quase livro aí que o Stefan deu pra gente. Então, é isso aí, boa sorte. É só tirar um print da live e marcar lá o Chris Greg Podcast no Instagram e marcar o João aí também. É isso. So now we can start talking in English.
Yes, go ahead and introduce yourself, Heitor.
So, hello for everybody who is inside the forum. I'm Greg. Many people know me as Heitor as well. And today we are here interviewing Stefan with Ygor and João. And I'm the host of the podcast.
Great. I'm Igor. I'm another host from this podcast, and it's an honor, a great pleasure to have you here, Stefan. Uh, you don't even imagine how important this moment is because you're just like a legend here in Brazil, and in this niche of copywriting, for us, you're a really big reference. So thanks for Ratão, né, from the Black Hat Forum for connecting, né, for creating these bridges and connecting people like Stefan, Heitor, João, and I think this conversation is going to be amazing. And go ahead, João, introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So, my name is João. I have nothing to do with the podcast, Stefan. The truth is that they just wanted someone with a copy background. So they just said, João, come here, we talk to Stefan. And I was like, holy shit, are you guys serious? And it was like the day before yesterday, and I had to do this podcast in English, and I don't use English a lot. So I was like, oh my God, but fuck it, let's do it. And then here I am. I think that my main goal here is just to talk a little bit about copy with you. Maybe have some few copy questions from Brazil that might offer on friends there. And that's it. I also a copywriter. I've sold around 50 million US dollars. And believe me, in Brazil, that's a lot. I know that it's not a lot in the US, but in Brazil, it's like, oh my God. And I like an operation like Golden Hippo here, where we sell mostly skincare products and our own offers. And I don't know, that's it. And I'm the one who was going to ask the first question. And for those few guys in Brazil that don't know you, Stefan, could you please introduce yourself, tell us about you and where you are right now, what are you working, and what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys for having me. What's up, everybody in Brazil and wherever else who is, gonna watch, listen, whatever. Really thrilled to be here, and I love the love that I get from your community. So really honored to be a part of it. So my name is Stefan Georgi. I am a copywriter, of course. I do other things now as an entrepreneur and investor, but copywriting is really what changed my life and what I still actively am doing on a daily basis. I think it's a skill that you never lose and that you should always keep using. Currently I run Copy Accelerator, which is a copywriting focused mastermind with 220 plus members. I'm involved in some direct response type of offers as an equity partner where I, help on messaging and copy. I've parlayed it into being an advisor on like crypto type projects. I'm an advisor to a company called Joystick, Joy Token, which has a several $100 million like US dollar valuation, like market cap.
Awesome.
But because of copy, which is really cool, right? So so I do other stuff too. But yeah, I'm happy to go over the conversation. I do a lot, but I mean, copy has been the common magical thread in my life for over 10 years now, and something I really love and am passionate about.
Yeah, that's awesome. Copy really changes lives in mine. And I didn't know that you actually did all that. I'm impressed. I thought that your main thing was writing sales letters. But when did you actually start with this whole copywriting thing? You were like, how did you get in contact with this skill that changed your life?
Yeah, so I don't know how old I was, but it was 2011, and my dad had just passed away. So before that, I was a counselor in an outdoor education school in Texas, where basically they would bring kids from Texas to this like a big kind of like campground type place. And there was instructors, and you would teach the kids about nature and the quality of water and what to look at the stars and astronomy. And I had just sort of randomly ended up there. I was living in a small trailer, like I don't know if this translates or not, but like a little
it does.
Like a mobile home trailer. Yeah. I had a roommate, I had 5 other trailer mates, but I was very happy. I was making $200 US a week. But I was like fulfilled. I'm in nature, all that. And then
Nice.
got the news that my dad was sick. He had cancer. It was a late stage. So I went home to try to be there with him and support him and my mom while during the final months of his life. And he passed away in October of 2011. And then in December, I went to Las Vegas to kind of have a vacation, try to regroup, and after going through watching someone you love like your dad die, you need to do that. And I was at a poker table, and a girl came in, and I joked to my poker table, I hope she gets seated here. And then she did, because there was a lot of tables, but she happened to get assigned to that table. And somebody asked her what she did for a living, and she said, I'm a writer. And then I wanted to talk to her. So I said, well, what kind of writer? She said, I'm a copywriter. And I was like, wow, copywriter, that's so cool. And I pulled out my iPhone 1 or whatever I had at the time. And I Googled what's a copywriter underneath the table, because I had no idea. And that was the first time I ever heard of copywriting. And but yeah, I was pretty interested right away, especially when I found out that she was making $800,000 a day, like just writing in her underwear from hotel rooms. And I'm like, this seems like something I want to get into. This seems pretty good.
But did you think that you were going to be good at it? Because copy is it's like a hard skill to learn. Why did you have such a confidence? Because you were in nature, and then out of the blue, you're like, okay, I'm gonna just do this thing, just make money by writing stuff. That's a little bit crazy, don't you think?
Yeah, so I'd always fancied myself a writer of sorts. Like I liked to write. I wrote kind of creatively. In my early 20s, I wrote like a novel that wasn't really a novel. I mean, it's not very good, but I liked writing, and I'd always really been interested in business. I'd always been kind of entrepreneurial. I'd always like studied businesses and like to read and learn about it. And I just always kind of like thought I would do something entrepreneurial with my life eventually. So I think what appealed to me was the marriage of those two things. It was writing, which I enjoyed, and it was business related and selling. And I think I really liked the creativity aspect of it. When I saw what copywriting could be, especially direct to consumer for online marketing, internet marketing type stuff, there's a lot of creativity there. And I think I'm a very creative person. And so I think that was probably the biggest appeal of all, was like I can be creative and kind of funny and imaginative and all of that, and get paid money to do that and write and sell stuff. It just seemed like, honestly, it seemed like the stars aligning. And I was like, how did I find this? So I was very excited.
Nice, awesome.
What a lucky
Go ahead,
day
Ygor.
that you discovered copywriting, because what are the odds of this woman sitting in your table and then discovering this job, and it becomes
Yeah,
the main thing of your life, and it's
you
unbelievable.
made a lot of money to a lot of people. That's awesome. But
I
then you just, sorry, go ahead, Heitor.
that I feel like I broke out of jail. Or go ahead. I'll say, oh, I feel like I broke out of jail and then I won the lottery the next day, is how I describe it. Because it's like, jail being corporate world, jobs I didn't like, not knowing how to have this skill, like not feeling like I wasn't in control of my own life. And I broke out of that. And then to actually make a lot of money from this. I mean, it didn't happen overnight, but it's like I won the lottery. So that's really how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
Yeah, that's
from
awesome.
personal experience, when I first, sorry, Heitor, do you want to talk? Or can I? Okay,
No, you can
I just continue. From personal experience, that's also what happened to me, because I started out like 8 years ago in copy, but I only made money 4 years ago. And the freedom that you feel when you work with something that you like and makes money, it's amazing. And I think that most Brazilians staff that are here, they are looking for exactly that. How can they just make money online and be free to actually be in control of their own life? There's probably most people that are watching it right now. They are probably in this exact situation, because that's how we were. Maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And just talking about this, I would like to know, like, when you started learning about copywriting, do you remember the first like big names you go after to learn copywriting? The principal people you learn it from?
Yes, a great question. So, the girl from the poker table who, then I ended up, dating, and then we now have like a child together, and so like, it's a whole crazy story there. But because she was in like the world of like kind of internet marketing, it was people who weren't at the very beginning necessarily the most prestigious legendary copywriters, but they were actively doing well in that kind of vertical or niche. Like with some exceptions, like she got me the book, Getting Everything You Can Out of Everything You've Got, or the J. Abraham book. I forget what it's called. But that one,
That's it.
Hypnotic Writing by is it Joe Vitale, I want to say. So things like that early on, and then people who were just doing well in online forums. So the big forum in the US at the time for internet marketing was Warrior Forum. So just seeing people who were launching things and studying their copy. And then the first like really prestigious copywriter I studied more would probably be Clayton Makepeace. And some people had given me his Screaming Eagle newsletter, and there was a thing about fascinations and curiosity bullets, and it had the 21 types of curiosity bullets. And that thing blew my mind, because I just didn't realize anything about copy in that way. And suddenly it was all of these different ways to create curiosity when selling information or even selling a sales letter, right? If the lead for a long form, the lead is really just an advertisement for the rest of the sales letter, right? Even in a Facebook ad, even short form, the first 5 seconds or 10 seconds are just an advertisement to get you to keep going. And so throwing fascinations and curiosity, it blew my mind. And so that was really Clay Makepeace's stuff there, like what was really influential to me as well.
Awesome.
So
Clayton is amazing, Stefan. Actually, you just mentioned this newsletter, and I have just here by my side, you probably know this, the copywriting system. I think back in the day, it was called Ultimate Desktop Coach or by Tony Flores or something like that. I don't know. And it's really, in my opinion, is the best resource when it comes to learning copy from scratch. But it's a very dense book, so it's I don't know, maybe I don't know. I don't even know if it's a book or it's a course, but I have these pages here, and it's, I don't know, maybe 1,000 pages, so that's a lot. And if you guys want to dig into it, you can do it.
great, Stefan. When you started copywriting, how did you join the direct response marketing? It was like your first job as copywriter, or you worked with other things and then joined direct response?
So great question. So I put a posting on that Warrior Forum site. My first sales letter was basically selling myself as a copywriter and, saying like, hey, I'm available to write. I actually think I posted it under Laura's like account. And then like I wrote the copy myself. At the end, it was all about her protege, right? She has this protege, and it was like, hey, by the way, did you think this copy was pretty good? My protege actually wrote it, right? And then that was like, got people. And so I woke up the next day, I think I was charging like $149 US per sales letter. And I woke up the next day and had, $298 in my PayPal account or whatever. And was like, God, right? Like, God, someone's going to pay me. So that was the start. And I was getting, gigs on there for kind of like really medium form, like they were sales letters, but they were for these internet marketing sort of like launches. And so really the copy was 2,000 words, stuff like that. Whereas when I write long form today, it's like 6,000, 8,000, even 10,000 words.
Yeah.
But I also was just in love with the idea of freelancing. So, for the first year and a half, I was on Upwork, which at the time was called Elance, and I was just hustling to do anything I could. So I would do I wrote people's college papers for them. I did like research on like virtual servers and opening a storage facility in Bozeman, Montana, like SEO keyword, like literally whatever it took to just make enough money that I did not have to go back to, working for somebody else ever again.
Yeah. Nice.
But
Skin the
then-
game.
But then you said that you actually wrote like a product launch formula framework, the one from Jeff Walker, or I don't know if
It wasn't
right.
specific to Jeff Walker at that time. It was just that on Warrior Forum, it was a lot of like, I am in a pure sense. So it was like, FB ad scraper cracked. And it was like, oh, like this thing will go in and scrape the best ads and show you what to do. And it's $27, but the launch is for 1 week, right? So, I mean, kind of similar to what Jeff does, but probably less sophisticated. Just like people would have these launches. And if you did, $500,000 or $1 million on a launch on that forum, it was like you were a huge deal type thing. So for that kind of stuff. But some of the people, it's funny. I mean, so, Mike Buontempo, who runs Client Accelerators, they were just listed, I think I saw today, in the top 200 for the Inc. 500 fastest growing companies. But he hired me on Warrior Forum in early 2012. Wilco DeCrazy, who's a very successful guy in our space, he hired me in 2012. Brian Zimmerman, who ran JV Zoo, hired me. So it's kind of cool. The people who hired me way back then, or most of them are still in the space and active and actually doing really well. So maybe I got lucky.
Yeah,
maybe
awesome.
the right people were there. I don't know, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah, maybe it was both, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
But Okay, so but I have a question actually. Is product launch formula huge in the US compared to the, I don't know, the guys that run offers with VSLs, or how is the proportion of one type of funnel to the other? Because in Brazil, it's like crazy. People just love product launch formula here, and they do it over and over and over again. I think that it's because since you have the expert there selling stuff, you don't actually need like a very good copy because the expert will do most of the sale by his credibility. I mean, it's very easy to sell the investment curse of Warren Buffett, but it's very, very hard to sell the one that I made because I don't know nothing about investments. And I would like to know your view on that.
Yeah, it's well known product launch formula, and I'm good friends with Jeff's brother, like John, and I like him and Jeff. I mean, I like those guys a lot, and what they do. I think at this point they're just in a level of maturity in the marketplace in the US where it's not like people are either in their ecosystem or they're not. I don't know if they're bringing in tons of new people in the US into their ecosystem regularly. But there's plenty of people who use it and have success, and I think I don't think nothing but good things to say about them. But it's not like it's just very niche specific. I mean, you can say that about everything. Like Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels, even it's like in his events, it's like if you're in that universe, you're like really into it. But most of the people who I'm talking to on a daily basis aren't. Some of them came from there, but they're not like and yeah, but he's got people coming in from all kinds of sources. I mean, I was with Grant Cardone last week in Miami for 2 days, and like kind of same thing. Most of us aren't. Well, until this event, he did a smart thing by getting a bunch of influential people together and whining and dining us. But we weren't talking about Grant, but that doesn't mean he wasn't crushing it. It was just a much more mass market and like sort of less aware market. And I think that's probably with product launch formula. There's that a bit, not at the level of Grant or anything like that, and then there's people who are OGs and they're used to it and they still swear by it. But the middle kind of level, I don't think they don't have a lot of market share there currently, from my knowledge. But yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, it definitely makes all sense. Just coming back a little bit about talking about copywriting. Many people consider you. I'm one of them. You as the #1 copywriter in the world right now, and I would like to know if there is and who is the people that you are inspired of today. Like, is there any people you say, okay, this is a really good copywriter, and I inspired in his or her copy?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good copywriters now. I get to see many of them through Copy Accelerator, and so there's a lot of really talented ones. I mean, my two sort of proteges turned partners who aren't household names at all, but Luke Mills and Mario Castelli are both great. I mean, the reason like Mario, so I guess his name's actually pronounced Mario. I've always called him Mario, so I'm going back and forth. I'm trying to say it correctly, Mario. And he's so funny. He's like, just say Mario, it doesn't matter. I'm like, okay. But he wrote all like the sales letters for our Copy Accelerator events. He's been on retainer of V-Shred. He's worked with Chance Abdul, who did the Modern Millionaire stuff. Like, he's sold 9 figures of copy in the US easily. And then Luke is,
nice.
Brilliant, and we've done some great things together. So, and the reason that they became my proteges, and now I'm actually partnered with them in a new venture. Like, we're 1/3 partners each, is because they were like really that good, and it's hard to find that. Besides them, people, obviously Craig Clemens is a great copywriter. I respect him tremendously. And, if you're talking about the best, like, I think I am probably the best active copywriter, but if it's not me, it's Craig. You know what I mean? I think we're here. I think Ivaldo Albuquerque is quite good. It's more niche specific, like within financial. I think one thing I can brag about is I have wins across a lot of verticals, and I've tried really hard to diversify. Yeah. But Ivaldo is very good. So yeah, there's a lot of good copywriters today for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense. You say there are a lot of copywriters you're inspired of, but as the number one copywriter in the world, can you see like in a little space of time already a big increase of your abilities in copywriting, or did you arrive in a level that you see, okay, I think I'm on the top now, or you are always learning new things and you can see your skills get better?
I think I became one of the best. Like the first time I got really good, it was because of volume, as in my amount like of output, right? So I was in 2014 writing for these guys called like Lions Publishing that were in Romania, and I had written some things for one of the partners in that before he went over and joined them, and it was like a new company. And the deal, some people who've heard my story know this already, but like they were basically like, if you write 4 VSLs per month, we'll pay you $1,000. If you write 8 VSLs per month, we'll pay you $2,000 per. And if you write 12 VSLs per month, we'll pay you $4,000 per. And I'm like, well, fuck, I want, $48,000 a month. I never made that kind of money in my life. And there was opportunities to like get bonuses for different stuff. I could make basically, $60,000 to $80,000 a month, which was like, I know for many people listening, like it was like that for me at the time. It was like life-changing,
it's
crazy.
Life-changing.
Yeah. And but in order to do that, right, I had to get fast, but I also had to get good. And I had nothing else going on. I'd rented a beach house in San Diego, so I had this beautiful setting, but I basically wrote all day, every day. And then one of the partners from Lions came out to visit and stayed with me for like a month. And we actually rented another house that he paid for close to my beach house. And we hired other writers that we were going to like train so we could put out even more copy. I guess this was after a couple months of me doing it by myself and like crushing it for them. But so then I'm like training those writers, which got me, because now I'm teaching, which teaching makes me better. And then he's giving me all these resources. Like I think the first time I saw the ultimate desktop copy coach was through him. So I'm like in this house with other copywriters, like reading copy, dissecting, watching VSLs and taking notes. I mean, I just ate and, breathed and slept it for really a long time, but at least a year. And that's really when like everything I wrote, so much of what I wrote was working. I was writing so fast. I didn't understand a lot of the other aspects of the business at that point. I mean, they did like 100 million their first year off my copy, and then another 100 million after that. And like it's things like that get you to like the $1 billion mark, right? But so there, I need to have the foundation, but then it was a year of just really intense, obsessive commitment and dedication. That's when I think got great for the first time.
Okay, but Stefan, what exactly do you think that changed from your, beginner status to after like having this copy immersion and writing, hundreds of sales letters or more? What is the 80-20 that actually changed in you that actually got you to this next level? What was the skill?
I mean, a lot of it was the RMBC stuff that I know a lot of people in Brazil have studied, because I kind of had to develop that to write that much volume, right? And so like it was really like unique mechanisms of the problem and solution was really important, really valuable. And then once I started being a hunter for mechanisms, you start looking for like big ideas and big hooks and big things that come because you're looking for like, unique ways to explain things. And then you sort of are finding what are potential hooks and angles, and then really focusing on curiosity, like really heavy curiosity from the lead or the opening, or even an email, right? The subject line and the opening lines, like very curiosity heavy copy. Fascinations and curiosity bullets as well was really big. And then dimensionalized benefits, so that if we're talking about deeper layers of benefits from the product, or getting the solution that the prospect wants, and then even future pacing and painting a picture, right? So it's like, if you're just sort of like, I don't know, selling whatever, like you're like a new car, right? Like, hey, buy this new car, and it's got premium leather seats and power steering, and it's got, a V6 engine, and it's like, cool. And then going, right, so like imagine yourself like, sitting down in the seat and feeling the cool leather as it like wraps around your body. Your hands go up to like the steering wheel, and you can feel like the quality, how well made it is, right? And then you hit the shifter and you start to go, and the engine roars to life. your wife looks at you and you know that look is the look of, you know, a woman in love with a man who's in control, who has it all. Like, but you know, suddenly you're going so much deeper than just like the car's got leather seats and a V6 engine. So I started applying that to more of my copy, really trying to almost go over the top with like dimensionalizing the benefits and future pacing. And that was another really beneficial thing.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. And you mentioned that you started to research more, and then you found better and better mechanisms of the problem that help you write the sales letter. But you also said more big ideas, but in the RMBC, at least you don't focus a lot on big ideas. I think you have a bonus there. I don't remember. But most of the times, in my experience, the big idea is more or less an expression of the mechanism. So how do you relate these two concepts together, the big idea and the unique mechanism? Because at least in Brazil, it's very confusing. People have no idea especially the big idea. People have no clue what this actually is.
Yeah, it's honestly confusing to everyone. I feel like the big idea is the most confusing
concept. Why did they create this concept? Yeah, does it actually help? I mean, it's here just to confuse people. It freaks me out.
Yeah, the biggest things I think of are like, I think it's often mechanism related, and it's really just like that 1 to 2 cents sort of like, I don't even know how to describe it, man. Like right now, like exciting summary that someone wants to share that has like virality to it, that you're like, you know, wow. But frankly, I think the big idea, it's almost like easier to point to it after you've written your copy and your headline. If you followed RMBC, then you can look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's the big idea. So I almost like do it after the fact versus trying to come in with like a big idea. You know, typically that's it. You know, I mean, like I had the Christian supplement company that, you know, we did like $1 million the first year, 23 million the second year. It was like my company. It's funny because I'm weaving my journey in, because from after working for the Lions guys, I went off and started my own supplement company. And you know, the idea there was basically, hey, I'm marketing to conservative Christian males who are 50 plus in the US, and we're selling them informational products, but you know, about health. They probably would like supplements because it's even easier for them, and maybe it'll even help them to have better outcomes because people don't read information products a lot, right? And so, you know, I mean, I guess it's funny. Was there a big idea there? Because it's like, all right, take biblical ingredients, you know, ingredients from the Bible, put them into a supplement, sell them to 50 plus Christian males, and have like a pastor. So it's like kind of a big idea. Hey, these aren't just supplements, they're Christian supplements, but like even there, it's very like vague and murky, I guess. So I don't know.
Yeah, my opinion is that the big idea got very popular because of the Agora guys, and also because of Top Brand in Brazil, because they keep promoting it like a unique mechanism for sales letters to work. That's my view. And then, but here in Brazil, people, since the market is not that sophisticated, and considering that the big idea is a tool to pierce the marketing sophistication level, I don't think that's so useful here in Brazil. And I also think that most people here, they when they try to create a big idea, they end up writing a headline that doesn't have a benefit, for example, and it usually sucks. And that's the reason why I think that people really love R&B in Brazil, because it's step by step. You can just follow a process, a framework, and it works. And I think that's your biggest leverage, at least here in Brazil.
Yeah, and complementing João Campos, I think they do it the other way around. Like they try to come up with a big idea, but they should be doing research and then synthesize everything on the big idea. So that's why usually it doesn't work around here.
And
I think. Go ahead.
Actually, I was going to ask something else. You can answer his question if you want.
Well, I think the place where big ideas kind of work, because you mentioned Agora, and like on financial, you sort of need an idea to write your promo to start. It's a little bit different than like a health thing. So I do, to give the big idea some credit, or Agora some credit, it does actually makes some sense. Like I created this kind of framework called Breakthrough Ideas, which is a nod to breakthrough advertising. It's like a system for generating kind of big ideas, and it works. But I only taught it one time. I want to turn into a course, and I haven't done it yet. But I've used it for like a financial thing, and it actually did work. The idea for like the example I used it was like what was it? Essentially, the Iron Man. I was like, there's a retirement crisis. Like basically, seniors are gonna like owning their homes is actually this huge like liability, and it's gonna cause a bunch of seniors to go broke and cause like a senior homeless crisis. Basically, seniors across the U.S. are gonna be homeless because of these factors you don't know about. And I kind of got it from like research, and like that was sort of the big idea. So if I was writing a financial promo, I would like want to then go back up that big idea, second proof, and tie like, okay, well here these companies are solving the problem. So if you invest in them today, you can make lots of money, right? So I guess I'll say that it kind of like on financial, you need kind of a big idea because it's not like as mechanism driven or heavy. But beyond financial, especially for health, I think the big idea comes from the mechanism, and most other kind of product-based stuff that comes from the mechanism more often.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I learned a lot from this. But like, for example, in financial, we have this tool that is the big idea that works over and over again, and people are using that. We have a Brazilian Agora tool, which is called benefícios. Right. They have the same business model, everything the same. And the big idea works in financial, and then in health, as you said, the mechanism, the copy works better. And in offers that I promote, it also, I can say that is true. But do you think that every niche has like its own tool that you can use? Like, for example, financial, big idea, health, the mechanism. I don't know, if maybe the story, I don't know. Do you think that each niche has like this tool that you really need to figure that out if you want to make money in that niche? Or are we just overthinking here?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know that every niche does, and I think maybe there's certain characteristics for each niche, maybe that are unique to each niche. But like, let's go like health, wealth, relationships to start. So it's like, all right, wealth, financial, big ideas, health, mechanisms, relationships, probably mechanisms too, though, right? It's usually like, here's the real reason that he's not into you. Like the male brain does this and blah blah blah. It's like for women and to like why they can't get the man of their dreams, right? For dating stuff for men, it's like this psychological shortcut, trick her brain, like whatever. It's always like sort of these like 3 things you can do that make a woman powerless in to say no to a date with you. So they're based on psychology and they're mechanism heavy. Like golf, let's look at golf. Like it's a big niche in the US, right? So playing golf, it's like there's usually a mechanism behind the swing there. So I actually think the mechanism works and is common to the vast majority of niches. It's just in finance. And even in finance, it could be if you're like, because even in finance, you're like, it's like a type of trade, and you're essentially like, I'm not an expert on financial stuff, right? But like, you're, most options traders are doing this, this, and this. This is the one piece that you've been missing. Like, if you actually did this one piece, then you could like, make more options trades, successful and make more money. So, and even if you're selling like investment things, you could be like, most companies aren't doing this. This company is. Here's the one thing they're doing differently. This is why they're going to succeed for the next 10 years and why their stock price is going to skyrocket. So even in financial, you can have a mechanism. I feel like it's 50-50 on it. Like, to be completely honest with you too, I'll be controversial here. I don't think financial copy is that hard. I think financial copywriters, I did like a summit with Agora in West Palm Beach, right? And it's sort of like, it takes 90 days to write our, like to write stuff. And I'm like, and me, Mario, and Luke thought about starting a financial publishing company because I'm like, fuck this. Like I can write this in 30, fuck off. It's not that hard. It's just bullshit. It's just like they're in financial, so they want to act like that's like this crazy hard thing, right? And then like, just I don't think anything's hard. It's like have the systems and the processes. But I think financial is like really not, I don't think anything's hard. And so they act like that you can have a mechanism because it's an art form and all. It's like, fuck, I don't know about that. Probably you can.
Yeah, I agree with you. There is even a financial copy template here in Ultimate Desktop Coach, where you can just copy and paste everything that he says there to create a promotion. It's like, hey, this big thing is going to happen. Like this president is get elected, so you lose your money. Here's the reason why, or you will win more money. Here's the reason why, and then you have like a template for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically they make all this thing involving the financial market, and they say it's really difficult to make the mechanism, but it actually isn't, right?
Yeah.
We know RMBC is one of the most used methods in Brazil, and we want to know like how did you develop it? How did you arrive into the RMBC method?
Yeah. So really, it comes back to when I was doing the 12 VSLs a month type thing, because I really needed like an assembly line. I needed to mechanize stuff because they were paying me for volume, but it had to be like good. If it wasn't good, they're not gonna keep paying me, $48,000 to $80,000 a month. So I'm like, how do I make it good? And I thought about, really, it was just like the process of like, what are the steps I'm taking to do this? And it was like, all right, well, research first. I need to understand, the market and their pain points, their hopes and dreams, victories and failures. I mean, I think intuitively, I just went deeper on research than most people would. And so I tried to codify that with the R, but it was like not just because so much of it's emotional and psychological, and it's like a psychological state of a prospective consumer, and you want to connect with them at where they're at in their psychological state, and then bring them and pull them to a new higher energy, higher frequency psychological state. And so if you just sort of know that they're a 50 plus conservative Christian, like cool, like what does that really mean, right? Like what are they talking about? What are they saying? Where are they hanging out? What are they afraid of? What are they excited about? Like all like really get in their head, right? Because if I really know you, it's so much easier for me to, well, I become connected to you, become your friend, and then yes, ultimately sell to you, but it's almost like a recommendation. It's a friend making a recommendation, right? And so I was doing that, and that was the research phase. The mechanism stuff I just realized was really important because I needed to differentiate whatever I was selling from everything else. Whether I put a post in the Black Rat forums about this, about like I can give you unique mechanisms for a fishing pole, right? And people can act like it's a commodity. To me, it's obvious that a fishing pole could have lots of unique mechanisms, but so many people act like, well, what I'm selling doesn't have a unique mechanism, and it's like it probably does. Like there's very few.
Yeah.
Like even commodities, right? You're selling salt. Okay, where was it mined? Was it mined in a different place than average? Is it a different color? What was the altitude? What was the depth? Right? How did people get it? Did they extract it differently? There's so many things that we could go in, and that I could sell you salt 10 different ways and make this salt the most exciting salt in the world and charge 5 times more money than everyone else is charging for it, right? So when you're selling an information product on like how to support healthy blood sugar or lose weight or whatever, it was like, shit, I gotta like figure out how to differentiate. So the mechanism stuff was so important. So that was like the next phase. And then the brief part where you're kind of answering questions came about because I realized I would get kind of stuck on certain parts because all right, now I have my research, I have my mechanism, like I just want to write, but then I'm like, oh shit, I don't really like what is the story of discovery? Well, this guy did it. Like, and I'm like, all right, cool. But then I go write it, and I'm having to write it kind of in the middle of a sales letter, and I'm worried about screwing up or not making it perfect, right? So I'm like, all right, what's the big promise, right, that we're making? Like all like just metaphors we're going to use. It's like if I just started answering that stuff before I started writing, and I have my outline, which is the same structure every time, and that's how I was like, man, if I just follow these steps, I can write really good copy in like a couple, a day or two. And I mean, I can look at now if I know the niche. If you give me my sales letter outline, in like a brief and like if I had the steps of sales letter outline, I could verbally tell you like a 10,000 word sales letter in like 2 hours, and it's probably better than what 95% of people would spend 2 weeks doing just by having those pieces in place in that outline. So that's how it came about.
That's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. I had
Yeah.
no idea that it was how that is how you develop your method. You said you were paid by volume and it needed to be good. And what was considered to be good? It's amount of money which your sales letter had to sell. And another question I have is that how was the feeling for you when your first sales letter sold more than seven digits, like $1 million?
Yeah. So yeah, as far as what good meant, and to be honest, I didn't understand like a lot of the holistic view of running and scaling like offers and at the time offers. Right now, I like even businesses, and those are different, right? You can have an offer that crushes. It's very different from a business that crushes. But in this case, it was like offers, and that was their what they did. So I didn't understand a lot of the holistic stuff on it. So really, it was as simple as like, could they scale it and get a profitable ROAS, like on day zero, like return on ad spend? And if they could and they could scale it, it was a winner. And if they couldn't, then it was a loser. And they their model on this, I think a really important point to make though is that they expected a lot of my stuff not to be massive home run type of things, right? That's why they wanted volume. They're like the Hollywood model, where they're like, if I do 12, 2 of them might be like blockbusters. They're huge, big earners. Maybe 3 or 4 of them are going to be good. They're solid. They're making money, great. A few of them are break even. A few are slightly below break even, which they would just discard though, because they didn't even have the time for it. And if you would like bomb, right? And that's kind of what happened, right? So I nowadays, like if I like my win rate, now is I'm at least about 500, which is actually very good for, right? It sounds weird in other industries, but like 1 out of every 2 things I write is like a very strong success, and usually out of the gate pretty quickly. But I'm also more selective with who I'm working with and the clients I'm working with and things like that.
That's very important too.
It was less so. Yeah, very. I mean, it's great. I have that luxury where if I can turn down stuff and only work with people who have the means and knowledge and ability to actually scale. So yeah, so really it was like things that were profitable and could scale. And I didn't really at first know, I'm just pumping stuff out. And then the guy comes to visit me, and then I still remember we were sitting outside of the Seaside Market in Cardiff, California, where my beach house was, and we'd been walking around at night, and he's like, I don't think you realize how good your copy's doing. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool, man. He's like, no, it's like really, really good. And I'm like, yeah, like, well, like how good? Like, I'm like, I won't ask for more money. Just tell me. He's like, oh, we've done over like $100 million in the last 6 months or whatever. And I'm like, I need more money. Like right away, I'm like, oh, you guys got to pay me more. But I had no idea. And that was really, so in a funny way, I didn't find out this thing had done $1 million. The first thing I found out was like the aggregate had done over like 100 million in a really short period of time.
Oh my God.
I had no idea, really. I was just pumping stuff out, and they were just like paying me money and seemed happy with it. And then over time, they started to bring me in more, and I learned more about the data, and like I got access to more of that stuff, so I could optimize what I was doing. But yeah,
great.
Okay. And back in the day, you were promoting only health offers, right? Or there were like other type of offers.
You just can talk a little bit louder. Your microphone's a little.
Is it too low?
Mine or his or everyone's?
No,
just João.
Yeah, João.
Yeah.
Oh, João.
Okay. What was my question again?
It was was it just health, or was it other stuff too?
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
So yeah, no, what was really cool actually, and this was probably my favorite part about working with these guys, was that I started with a health offer, and it was like a blood sugar offer, and it like crushed. But we did health, but then they were like agnostic. So they were like, no, just come to us with ideas and we'll build it. We have the whole team. So like whatever you want to do. And sometimes they would give me ideas too. So I did like survival, I did like biz op, I did law of attraction, personal development, I did dating stuff, I did like martial arts, kung fu stuff for seniors. Awesome. I mean, literally everything. That's what was so cool is I really didn't specialize in health until after I started a health supplement company. And even now, some of the stuff I've been doing recently, it's like I'm almost more interested in not health supplement stuff because I like variety. But yeah, it was all over the place. I mean, including like how to win the lottery, which was very scammy bullshit type stuff that I didn't, like I regret doing now as like,
Yeah.
but at the time I wasn't thinking about the morals of it. I'm like, I can really convince people that if they buy this product, they'll learn how to win the lottery. And I was like, it seemed fun, but then I went and read reviews online of people who were like depressed and buying it. And I was like, oh, I feel like a piece of shit. I can't ever do that again. But
Yeah. But these niches where you're using the root cause argument for like, hey, you have this problem, here's the mechanism of it, here's the solution to this problem, or you were using like other types of argument in these other niches too?
Yeah, it's still the mechanism of pretty much everything. Pretty much everything had a unique mechanism.
Here in Brazil, some other offer owners that I talk to, they say that the RMBC only works for health offers, but that's not actually true, right?
Definitely not true.
Yeah.
I get it, but that's just because they know that I wrote a lot of health stuff, so they're like, "Oh, that's what it's for." But it's like, nah, it works for everything.
Yeah, I get it.
I have a curiosity question before we go to the next topic. When you were living in that beach, were you married already or not? You were just like dating your wife?
Yeah, no, that phase, we had actually broken up, and she went back to New York, and then we'd been in Florida, and then that's why I kind of like decided I want to spend time in San Diego and rent the place. So I was single dating, single/dating for a period of that time, and then towards maybe towards the end of that year, her and I started kind of dating again and stuff like that, and kind of reconnected. But yeah, I was mostly just single during that period.
So then you had time to really focus on just writing and create your factory and your method.
Yeah.
And it wasn't doing anything else, which is important. Because today it's like I can still write. If I was doing nothing else, I don't want to, but I could write 12 VSLs a month and probably crush it, right? But like I've got so many other things going on because that's part of my growth. I love writing copy. It's an integral part of who I am, and it will always be part of my identity. But I also want to like build and grow and scale businesses. I frankly want to be like a billionaire, not like, like, I don't know, just because, right? Because I want to just create so much value and have so much impact that it's worth like $1 billion to the world. So, but back then it was like, all I had to do was write copy, and there's something very freeing and liberating and beautiful about that, right? You just wake up every day, I'm writing copy and I'm studying copy. That's all I'm doing every day. And so, it's pretty powerful.
That's the dream.
Cool. And Stefan, talking more about a specific copy. And when do you know that the copy is done? Like we can always see something to edit in our copy, but when do we can say, okay, now it's done?
Yeah, I mean, perfection is definitely the enemy, right? And this is probably another gift of that time where I'm doing 12 VSLs a month, is because I just had to let go of it because I had to go on to the next one. And so that's sort of, I'm probably really lucky in that perspective because I was that way. And the way I look at it, how do you know it's done? I think you just have to accept, like, and it sounds weird because we're like, they're like, oh, perfection, like, let's go. But it's like, oh, good enough. I'm like, man, I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. Like, I've got this stuff in here. I feel good about it. And then you also know, typically, depending on your client, like, I can always come back and change it. If it's not working, I'll have more opportunities to come back and optimize it. I prefer it works out the gate. I have a call tomorrow with somebody where Luke and I did a sales letter for them, and it's like about $1 EPC, and they want it higher. And it's tough because they want it really compliant, but it was a difficult project. Like in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have taken it on, to be completely honest with you, but we did. And, I'm like, all right, let's get a call. Like, let's go through it. And because I'm not gonna charge them more money. I just want to crush. I want everything I write to crush. And so, so I feel like I want it to be done and hopefully it works, but you're never there's always gonna be things you could change. I mean, I look at copy, 6 months later, or a year later, and I'm like, oh my God, I could have done this and this and this and that. But it's like, it's still made like, $50 million, 100, whatever it made. So it's like, whatever, you got to just sort of let go.
Yeah, this is the thing I I always struggle about, because I always can see I can improve my copy. Then I start thinking, okay, so when I can say it's done. And as you said, I don't think there's a time I can say it's done, but when I feel good about it.
Yeah. I mean, when you're like, do I think this will convert at a high level, right? Do I think that's really it? It's not like, it's not, could this be better? Is this perfect? It's like, will this perform at a high level, at an acceptable level, at a level that's good, right? And I know it sounds weird because like, but I want to be the best. It's like, yeah, but you're honestly going to be the best from volume. So if you stay stuck on like one thing all the time, like it doesn't matter how much time you spend on that one thing. It's like you're gonna be better by getting more reps of more niches, more categories, more offers. So it's like, if you want to be the best, you'll get better by just letting go of stuff and moving forward than you will agonizing over one single promo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you write just one copy, you'll never get to $1 billion.
Yeah.
Stefan,
Yeah.
when you say stuff like this, we can see that, I mean, you know copy, but you also understand of other business stuff, like, for example, that you have to have a lot of offers that one will actually pay out. And I think that much of your success comes from knowing how to direct your efforts, because you were like doing a lot of VSL, so you had to really have a process, really know what is the most important part that I will work here to give a chance that this thing will convert. And in talking about that, people they usually said in lots of copywriting courses that the lead is the most important part. But considering that the lead is just a preview of the sales letter, and the sales letter for most offers, they are usually mechanism driven and mechanism heavy. Can we say that the mechanism is more important than the lead, or is the lead more important than the mechanism? And how do you see that? And when you are writing a project, what do you actually focus on? More on the lead or more on the mechanism?
I focus more on the mechanism because two parts to this. I think the lead is the most important part, but I focus more on the mechanism because if the mechanism is really dialed in, that's going to inform a lot of my lead, because I'm going to be teasing it, curiosity, things like that. So I have to have my mechanism dialed in. Sometimes, especially if I'm not doing an emotional story type of copy, like letter or whatever it is, then I'm going to tease the shit out of the mechanism. And like my whole kind of like lead is going to be teasing the mechanism and drenched in curiosity. And so the mechanism has to be dialed in. So that I focus more on that. But the lead's super important. I'm going to try diagramming something, and I'm going to see if this works. And if it doesn't show up for people, I'll explain it verbally too. But let's see if this works here. I want to try something. Let's see. Right? Like, this is like going to be like really basic, like, so say it's like your funnel, right? I mean, honestly, it shouldn't have a point at the bottom. I already screwed this up. Actually, let me do one more. Let me try. I've never done this before on a podcast, but I want to try.
No, go ahead. You can do whatever you want here.
Okay, right. So that's a little bit better, right? So you've got your funnel on, if you guys can see that, okay, right? So basically, like the most eyeballs are gonna be at the top of like your VSL, right? Just by virtue of that. And as you continue on, if you're, and we know from data, if your like lead is good and they're blocked in, they'll stick around for longer, which means more people are gonna end up down here at the bottom when you're telling them, hey, buy now, call to action, all of that kind of stuff. But if your lead sucks, right, then it's more like this, right, where it's really skinny. So no matter what, you're gonna have way fewer eyeballs down there at the bottom, and so nothing else matters, right? Like you can forgive a lot of sins in sales copy. And again, honestly, we're talking long form, but like even like ads, it's the same thing. Like I was just talking to a dude today who's doing $500,000 million profit as an affiliate per month, running YouTube ads, and we were talking about how first 5 to 10 seconds, right, of every ad, first 5 to 10 seconds. It's not like just like long form specific, but you can be forgiven a lot of sins later on if you've captivated them, because like we just have the data. If someone sticks around for 5 seconds, then they'll go for 10 seconds. If they'll go for 10 seconds, they'll go for 20. They go for 20, they'll go for 40. And it becomes like exponential, where if you get them for a couple minutes, they're probably going to stay until the very end. And if you ever look at data on Wistia or Vitalytics or whatever, and like VSL data right? And it's always like this drop, and then it's like this very level thing that kind of goes down like this. And really, when the drop is like this, you're fucked. When the drop's like that, it means you have like a massive winner. So it's gonna drop. No matter what, you're gonna have a drop from the beginning. And that all comes down to the lead because you have the most eyeballs there, right? You're talking to 100% of people, let's say, I mean, not excluding bounce rates and stuff, just like 100% of people here. At the mechanism, you're only talking to 50% of people. So just by virtue of that alone, the mechanism is less important than the lead because we have to bring them down to the mechanism. If you have 65% of people or 75% of people at the mechanism, then it's going to convert better almost undoubtedly every that only happens if the lead is really dialed in.
Yeah, that's nice. I agree with that. That's cool.
Hopefully I didn't talk too fast for all the Portuguese speaking people. I got excited there, so I started motor mouthing, yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, the more that you can speak here, the more you will teach us, the more money we will make, and we are all happy with that.
And everything is recorded. If it was too fast, they can just go back and watch it in slow motion.
0.5 speed. I'm the only person. People watch everybody else at 2x speed. They watch me at 0.5 speed.
But Stefan,
I think everybody is understanding you. And after we finish the live, we will post this on our YouTube with the subtitles in Portuguese, so everybody can understand what you're saying. And another thing I want to ask you, Stefan, you said you master your copywriting abilities by doing a lot of like copies and on development. I want to know if you don't have too many clients, how would you do it? Would you catch like different niches and start writing a lot of copies, or would you get just one niche and start looking different mechanism and writing also a lot of copies? How would you do that if you don't have too much clients and you want to get better?
Yeah, so your question, it assumes something, which is a good assumption and an important one, but it's not always true, because I have beginners all the time say to me, well, I want to practice more, but I don't have clients. And it's like, what the fuck do those two things have to do with each other, right? Like, you don't need clients to practice. So like just work, right? Write for yourself, create portfolio pieces, create copy that you send to prospective clients, right? Hey, prospective client, big fan of yours, like saw this copy, it's awesome. Wrote you a whole damn sales letter. If it's good, would love to have you use it. We can talk. If not, keep me posted. I'm going to keep up. Is it okay if I keep sending you stuff I do for you? Right? Because if you do that, someone sends you like a whole damn sales letter. If it's really shitty, even if it's really shitty, I would be like, hey, thank you. This isn't quite the level that I need right now, but probably I'll give you a few pointers, right? Here's some things you could do, whatever, right? There's someone's going to feel very indebted to you from doing that. So you don't, need clients to practice. I know you guys know that, but I do get that question even in the US, right? People act like they can't practice because they're not getting clients. And it's like, that's such a bullshit thing. But as far as what I would do to practice, I mean, and would I pick a niche or not? If I was really early on, it just depends. I wouldn't, I like exposure to different niches and finding out what you really like and what you enjoy. I mean, I see that all the time. I know someone in the full version of my mastermind paying, $40,000 a year. And the dude's like not, I would say this without giving away who he is. He's like not really good at some types of copy, some niches, but then I'll see something else in another niche, which is like not health, it's a random one. And I'm like, this is like excellent, right? So, you might not realize that unless you practice in different niches. Now, if you're really passionate about one niche and you're like, this is it for me, I'd still encourage you to practice occasionally in other niches and see. But generally, I think people shouldn't niche down until, I think generally you'll niche down by like economic necessity, meaning that you're going to end up getting a client in a certain niche or category who likes you and they're doing a good job and you like it and they're going to keep hiring you. And then because you're doing a good job there, other people in that same niche are going to come ask you, right? It kind of happens naturally. I think people get so anxious about needing to like force it and pick their niche and all of that. But like, it will just, for me, it happened organically, right? It was kind of like health, but also all this other stuff. Went into the supplement space, liked it, made, $23 million in a year, not like net, but like gross. Part of another guy where he does 100 million plus a year and mostly on offers I created, but ended up getting bought out of that whole long story I don't want to go into on this podcast. But then like people knew that, right? Because we were running on affiliate stuff. So then when affiliates were like, I could hire you again, I'm like, yeah, $50,000, $50,000, like happy to give it to me. And then I'm like, well, I like this stuff. I know it. I kept doing it, but it was all just sort of like it happened, organically. So long-winded way of saying, just practice, don't wait for a client, practice. Don't worry about a niche. I would study stuff. Like I would break down copy and the structure and look at mechanisms. I think practicing coming up with unique mechanisms is great. Like have fun doing that. And then just write too. Just write stuff and but if you're going to do it as practice, pick clients you would want to work with potentially so that the stuff you're practicing, you can send it to them and maybe they'll actually hire you or pay you for it. Right. You might as well do that. Worst case, it goes into your portfolio because if people ask for a portfolio and you're like, yeah, here it is. Right. So, yeah, that's how I would approach that.
And at least in Brazil, for the people that are seeing us, the best way to find a work as a copywriter is just send them ads, easy, testable ads that people can easily use. I love when people do that. They send me an ad and then I test it, and it's actually a control. So it's awesome. So you should do more of that.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing as Ratão, the owner of the forum, always say. He says basically you have to first give value, and after, if the person sees value on you, she or he will probably hire you. So instead of just asking people, oh, can I do a copy for you? Can you hire me so I can do a copy for you? You first do the copy, provide the person value, and after this, if the person see value on your work, they will probably hire you or something.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I mean, this applies really to anything with like getting clients. So even if somebody listens to this or watches it and they're not like a copywriter, like I was thinking about that today because even in my Instagram, right, my DMs, it's like, hey, I'm a big fan of your profile. It's neat what you're doing. Are you interested in growing your following? I've got packages that are this. And so I'm like, man, this is these cold messages of like, hey, good job. Can you give me money now? And it's like, fuck you, right? Like I'm never going to respond to that. If they're like, hey, I'm really a big fan of your stuff. I actually did like an analysis of your 5 top competitors. Here's what they're doing. Here's like what, you're doing currently. If you actually made these 3 changes, I think you could probably grow your Instagram following by this, right? If you're free to get on a call, I've got whole boatloads of more data that I could share with you. And I think it could really help you, right? There's a legit chance I would get on that call because I'm like, right now, I'm timing too. Right now, I'm really focused on regrowing my socials and stuff like that. But it's value, right? You're giving me value first. Perfect. Yeah. But even like on these DMs and stuff. So like, I just want to point that out because yeah, give someone some value first and they're way more indebted. There's the,
oh no,
right? People want to reciprocate. Someone gives you a gift, bad. Oh, I don't, did you lose me? No, here. Okay. Somebody gives you a gift. You feel like bad if you didn't give them a gift. You want to give them a gift back. And so it's the same thing with leading with value with prospective clients, customers, whatever it may be.
Yeah. One thing that we may add to that is that working for free may be value, but sometimes it's not, because when someone comes to No Life, my company, and says, hey, can I work for free? And I'm like, bro, I will train you, give you my time, all of that. So maybe you will perform. So that's not a useful strategy too. You should send your work and try to get as little value as possible from the person that you're trying to connect with.
I want to just reemphasize that for everyone listening and watching. That's a wildly important point. I don't want people to work for free for me, right? Like literally for the reasons you just said. I mean, like, because then like I'd rather pay money, right? I'm a business owner. I'm pretty rich. I can give you money, right? You're running a $50 million company, whatever. You can give them money. That's fine. And like I would love to pay you for something that will create more money and more economic value. But like my time is like extremely valuable. I mean, I put a post on Facebook. I had 31 Zoom calls this week, right? I'm not usually that crazy, but I like 31 Zoom calls this week. I know it's a crazy week for me. But and then I've got all this other stuff going on in my life. So it's like my time. So yeah, like for free means like, and then, okay, so if you suck, now I've got to like, if I bring you on, I have to tell you that you suck. I feel really bad about it. I feel crappy. I got your hopes up only to let you down. Or yeah, I have to like mentor you, right? And I don't have the time to just like willy-nilly mentor people. I wish I could, right? I wish I could mentor everybody. But if you give an ad and the ad's actually pretty good, then I'm like, oh, now I can envision how this person could actually, make me money and even give me back time, because now these ads are working and I don't have to do anything and I can scale. So I don't mean to like repeat what you said, Joe, but this is so important. I have some content I put out over the years about that too, because it's a huge mistake people make of thinking that offering to work for free is valuable. And it's usually like a burden and a hindrance and something that it's a turnoff because of the fear of my time. Like my time is the most precious commodity. And so I just really wanted to put an exclamation point on that because it's really, really important.
Yeah, that's true.
There was actually something I was thinking about, that timing is the most valuable currency there is. So if you have to pay someone, not pay someone to work for you, but you have to spend your time, then it will never compensate.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I want to say real quick, I think it's maybe important, I don't know, but is like, if I believed, and I'm speaking to any freelancer out there or person trying to get clients, right? I know there's business owners too, and for the business owners, tell me if you agree or not. But if I truly believed that I would get, for every dollar I give you, I will get $1.50 back or $2 back, right? Because your copy was that good and you were that consistent, I would never not hire you. Every time I would hire you, I would find ways to hire you, right? I might be like, hey, I got to build out some systems so I can deploy more of this stuff in a faster period of time. But I will always hire you, right? The reason you don't get hired is because someone doesn't believe that your copy is going to give them an ROI, even worse, you might take up their time too. So like going back to like getting great at your craft, especially people early on, and maybe in Brazil this is better. And honestly, in the US, I feel like there's like a pretty high level of entitlement now for people where they come and they start copywriting for a year and then they expect really high fees because they've been doing it for a year or 2 years, or sometimes it's like 5 years. But it's like, I don't give a F, right? If you could be copywriting for 10 years, but if you're still not good, you don't deserve higher fees, right?
Yeah.
You deserve to look in the mirror and figure out what are you doing with your life? Why are you still shitty after 10 years? But and make some changes. So, but yeah, that's the thing, right? The magic, get clients, get money. If you were really good, like all I need is if I could not edit your stuff, because I go back to time, if I could just get it and deploy it because you're that good that you just think it's perfect. Like that's the only reason that Luke and Mario are my equity partners now, is because 90% of the time that's the case. And the 10% of the time where it's not the case with their copy, it's like a 10-minute Loom video. Hey, change this, this. It's not like hours of rewriting, but it took me 10 years to find 2 people who I feel that way about. But I just wanted to go on a tangent about that for a minute.
Nice. And if someone here is listening and thinks that you can be a Luke or a Mario for Grupo Neolife, you can send me a DM on Instagram. I'm always looking for good copywriters that actually know how to write copy. And if you're here listening to us in English, I think you maybe one of these guys. Should we go back to the copy stuff?
Yeah. Things got hot here and we lose track of our questions.
Yeah, Stefan, you know that John Caples, he says that you should get like 7 times more research than you actually use it. And your process is very, very precise. You just go straight to the point. Do you think that this was made for like a high-speed process, or you think that it's very useful like it is right now? Maybe what's your opinion when it comes to writing a high-converting sales letter? Or why don't you have more stuff here in the research?
I think that people find excuses to overcomplicate stuff, and they find excuses to like procrastinate. I think if you go through forums and the product reviews and stuff like that I talk about with research from RMVC, you typically see that the market has the same hopes, dreams, victories, failures, all the desired victories and failures, all that stuff, like desires, pain points. Like it's sort of just the same thing again and again. Like there's categories of it, but if you spend a couple hours, you typically have it. It's not rocket science, and you don't need to talk. You don't need to find an obscure pain point or an obscure hope and dream, because that's not beneficial. You're writing copy for the many, not the few. So if I can really understand what the vast majority of my market's saying, which I can do in a couple hours of going through forums, I don't really need anything else. Like, why do I need to know? Like, uncovering the fear that 1 out of every 100 people in my market has, like, it's not really worth it. It's the diminishing returns. Now you could argue, yeah, but you'll get that one more person. But like, to me, I think like, it's not rocket science.
Yeah. Also, one story that happened to me the first time that I got in contact with the RMBC, and I was like, oh my God, all that I need is a unique mechanism, and then I can write the whole sales letter. And since every like ingredient has its built-in mechanism, because every ingredient does something. For example, collagen. Like the mechanism of the problem is that you lost collagen. One thing that I did was I called the manufacturing guys here in Brazil, and I said, hey man, give me all your ingredients, the list, all of them, because for each one of them, I will create a mechanism. And then I just made like a lot of sales letters really fast. And then I just put all the offers out there, and a lot of them actually converted. So that was a very quick way for me to generate money at Grupo Now Life. And I think it's a really nice way for people here in Brazil that are listening. You can use it. But one thing, Stefan, is that people here, like my company Now Life, we do health offers, supplement offers, but that's not the norm. People usually sell info products. I think it's because the logistics are harder, or I don't know, but the vast majority of the Brazilian market sells ebooks, and here they called PL. How can I say the R?
PLR.
Yeah, exactly. PLR. It's like private label rights. It's basically an ebook that people they have this like mechanism for selling it. But when it comes to this kind of offers, do you have some tips for finding or reading mechanism for these ebooks? Because you don't have the built-in ingredient from the manufacturing guys.
Yeah, I mean, where do I go with that? I think like, so it depends on the category or niche, obviously, right? So
yeah,
are there any niches for PLR stuff that is it health still, or what are some popular niches like
they
are
usually health and make money online. These are the biggest.
So with health, even like really you're just like renaming stuff, right? So say the PLR book is about intermittent fasting, right? And it's like, hey, if you do intermittent fasting, you can lower your blood sugar or lose weight. And like that's like the book, right? And you're like, all right, like how do I make that sexy? Then you basically just need to find a way to rename intermittent fasting. You find a way to like, or you take something about intermittent fasting and you find new research and you say, essentially like you may have heard of intermittent fasting before, but like, this is the one part you were missing, and you need to do it this way. And then, it could be that another part of the book says like eat like lots of eggs in the morning. You have to get creative, but you basically just have to find ways to then position it a little bit differently. But frankly, if you just like named it something different than intermittent fasting, and then like show new compelling research that's like really exciting, that sort of like builds a lot of curiosity around it. That's like typically the way I would do that.
Oh, nice, cool. And here in Brazil, most guys that are in the direct response community, they are like this. They are young, they want to make money, and they are selling an ebook. So let's say that if you are in Brazil right now, if you were one of those guys and you have 220 million people here with no good direct response advertising, so like the market's not sophisticated at all. Most things that you put out here, they just sell. All that you have to do is put it on Facebook, press the button, and things will work out. If you were in this kind of market, what would you do with your experience? How would you make as much money as fast as possible?
I mean, you've got me tempted to find out by going into the market, to be honest with you. But
yeah,
I mean,
it's awesome.
I'm trying not to have shiny object syndrome, but I'm like, man, yeah. I mean, but I think I would still approach it the same way I approach stuff now. The difference would be not overcomplicating it, like not like, so because I mean, like some of the things that Luke and I have written are for the Italian market, for Mattia Paganelli and some of his partners, and we've and crushed it. I don't know, we've done tens of millions of dollars for them in the last year from some of the sales letters we've written. And the Italian market's kind of similar, right? Even it's like things that are known in the US are less well known in Italy or in Portugal or wherever, right? And so but they still have, there's still good VSLs, good production value. So me, if I were coming in, I would just treat it the same way. I would not overcomplicate things on the mechanism side. I would still want it to be a little bit unique. I would want to understand awareness levels for whatever I was talking about. And I would probably absolutely crush it. So I'm super tempted to do it. But I'll partner with JV. Awesome. I'll hit you up I'll just hit you up on JV. I won't be a competitor. We'll figure it out. But yeah, but that's the thing, right? I want to bring the high quality stuff still, and then because if everyone's down here and I come in up here, all I'm gonna do is just crush everybody, right? Because so I would do it that way. I want to be above on the competition.
So feel invited to come to our market and feel invited to come to Brazil also.
I want to come, dude. It's honestly, like the love on Instagram from everybody when I joined the Black Rat forum, and then you guys in the podcast, and I've got so many people DMing me and stuff, and I think that the founder of Black Rat, I don't know the guy's name. I know you guys know, you're friends with him, but he said he was looking at December or January, like an event, and I was like, yeah, tell me, man, I'll come. Let's go. I would love to. I'll totally. I've been to Latin America, but I've not been to Brazil. I'll come for a week or two. Give me an event. Like, let's fucking go. I love it. That'd be so fun. God. I'm all about it.
That would be awesome. We are recording, right? We can use it against him later. Okay.
I'm in, man. I'm telling you, I'm in.
Okay, I will take you on it. But yeah, so you heard the man. Just put out the offers and make as much money as possible. And I also have one question here, Stefan, that this is a personal question because I have a software that hosts video too. And we are seeing a lot of questions about interactive VSLs, at least here in Brazil. And a lot of people are talking about that. Also, some other people are talking about the podcast VSL, which is a new format. And I would like to your opinion on this kind of formats. Are they going to replace the normal VSL? Where do you think that the industry is going?
So, no on the podcast VSL. I think it can work, but really, what are the podcast VSLs that crushed it? Scott Phillips had his crypto one. Alan Saltnick hyped it up. Scott hyped it up. It did well. It was also in crypto at a time when crypto was booming. I love Scott. Scott's a good friend of mine. I'm not saying so are there a bunch of other podcast VSLs that are actually crushing it? I think it's a cool format. I'm not saying it couldn't work. I did one in the golf niche, which didn't work, but that's not because of the format. I think there's a lot of moving pieces and this long story. I don't think podcast is like it, right? There's always be a shiny object syndrome. It's a smart idea, but creating VSLs or content that that feels different, that feels more native to a format or a platform or an audience is certainly not a bad idea. But it's not going to replace VSLs, I don't think, in the short term or medium term. And then the interactive stuff is cool, but a shit ton of work. I think that you'll see. I think it could, honestly, but I think it's gonna be a long time until it does. And going back to the Brazilian market being less far along than the US market is, if given that, if I'm a Brazilian marketer, copywriter, entrepreneur in this space, I probably would not be stressing about that because there's probably just so much opportunity to just make lots of money with a mediocre PowerPoint VSL, let alone an actual legit good high production VSL. And so I would probably just focus on that more than worrying about trying to do this interactive thing, because it's a lot of copy, a lot of moving parts, a lot of tech. I think it can crush. It's funny, Alex Catoni, who I love, she's a great copywriter and I adore her. She did one for numerology or numerologist.com 3 or 4 years ago. And I remember being blown away by it. It was this is the coolest VSL I've ever seen. and like nobody did it for like years after that, and then now suddenly people are like, oh my gosh, it's like, but yeah, I don't know. So I think it makes sense that it's sort of like an interactive VSL could do really well. I do like it, but I wouldn't worry about it if I was a marketer in Brazil right now.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. It makes total sense. One thing that I was thinking was about using it on the upsell though, because people are more committed to just keep going through the end and see what happens. So you can give him a personalized offer. But for the most guys, you're probably right. We just need to create a VSL and don't complicate it. Just run it, see if it sells. People here in Brazil, the awareness level when it comes to writing and analyzing offers is very low. So people just copy each other out. They keep doing that. It's crazy. It's like the Wild West here. And they have no idea what to do when it comes to actually validating the offer. They put the VSL on and they want to know, hey, how much was my play rate? How much was the engagement? How much people stay on the VSL until the very end? But they don't look for the most simple metric, which is sales. Like the VSL actually sold something or not. So for considering this, do you have a framework for like analyzing offers? Like do you look for this intermediate metrics like play rate, engagement, that kind of stuff, or you just go to sales and that's it?
I really only look at that stuff if the offer is not working. I'll go look at those metrics. If it was like my own offer and it was working well, but I'm like just bored and want things to test, I would look at those metrics. But like typically I want, just like ROAS. I mean, if I'm buying my own media, like ROAS and am I making money? And like how much money? I mean, I like optimizing an offer. So sure, like once it's going and it's profitable, can I get the average order value up? Can I do a lead that, gets the conversion rate up? And then getting the conversion rate up means more people are staying until here and blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm not really obsessing over that as much as I am just like, are the numbers better, right? I mean, I'll look at data. So it's okay to look at it, but really at the end of the day, money in, money out, can you scale it? Right? Even the CBD stuff I'm partnered in now, it's like these guys were already, I don't know, they're already a lot of money in when I came in as a partner. This gave me equity. I didn't buy into it. This gave me equity to like help them, right? And I've known the guys for a long time. And all I'm looking at, there have been like, we've tried to optimize, but it was also like the ways I'm optimizing is to get to like where am I at least break even on my ROAS for running on YouTube, which now we're actually profitable finally. And there's a variety of reasons why. Not, at a couple $1,000s a day in ad spend, but now like finally we're at the place where we scale. Although honestly, these guys are like so maxed out on like all of their credit cards and stuff that I'm like, fuck, like I wish I could come in earlier. I could have saved you guys a ton of trouble. But I mean, but really, so it's like, but all I want is like, hey, am I making more money than I'm putting in? If I'm spending, if I'm acquiring a customer for this and I make this much, let's go, right? Let's scale that up. And then if I can't scale, why can't I scale, right? What's the bottleneck and alleviate that?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're listening right now and you keep using play rate and engagement to validate your offer, you're doing it wrong, man. Just look at your sales. I know it's stupid to say it, but people keep making this mistake in Brazil, and we need to stop it. We need to be professionals. And okay, you guys can go ahead.
Do you want to talk, Heitor?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I agree with João and Stefan that it doesn't make sense if 100% of the people that are seeing your VSL are arriving to the pitch if it doesn't sell. So it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Stefan, you have like more than 10 years of experience, like being a copywriter, and hundreds, maybe thousands of copies written and successful. And how was your style of copy at the beginning, and what changed it from now? And after you responded, I have another question on top of it.
Well, I mean, I was writing more like aggressive copy early on, so it was very emotionally story driven often. Bigger claims, things like that. I don't have like I don't judge people and what they do, and I mean, I did that most of I was trying to eat, right? I went through a place where I'm like, all right, I've got enough money and I've sort of matured as a person, and like I'm gonna try to but I'm more proud of the fact that I write lots of winners now that are things that I could go show my mom or could be on the front of a newspaper, and I'd be like, yeah, like I wrote that, right? So that's a process and a journey. And again, I don't judge people who are doing really aggressive type of stuff, but just purely from but inherent in that is like that type of copy. There's stories sometimes, because if you have a good story, I'm trying to make them true stories, right? They're based on like real experiences from people. But you also rely more on like curiosity and like, capturing people's curiosity. Versus like that shocking story of the guy having a heart attack on the treadmill and his kids are like all screaming and it's like, the hospital thing's beeping and like, so
That's
just
the
that
Compre
alone
Brazil.
changes. Yeah. I mean, that's tempting too. I go in there, dude, I'll say it. I don't think anyone in the world could write a better Black Hat VSL than me, but I just wouldn't. I'm like the moral side of it, I can't, but like straight up fucking better than anybody at it. Like
I believe
if you don't look at the moral downside, it's like, because it's fun to write it. The problem is that you look at like, okay, and then people and like the implications, so all of that. But I was telling these big media buyer guys that they're like, let's get a call. We won't tell anyone, bro. I'm like, no, I can't. But so it changed. That changed because I do it. But a really important other thing is early on, like my VSLs were like 6,000 words, 6,500 words. Leads were like 300 to 500 words. Very like formulaic, just because I do 12 a month, right? Popping them out, and then like now the problem or like a thing to avoid for me and others who get good is you start to try to like flourish and you overcomplicate it, and suddenly your lead's like 1,500 words long. And your VSL is like 10,000 words long, and you're trying to add in all of this shit, and you're like, dude, like, and it takes you longer to write it. And then I'm like, man, when I was just writing, in a couple of days and 6,000 words, and these things were generating, tens of millions of dollars, aggregate hundreds of millions of dollars, like, so I try to like remember that and not feel like just because I'm better, I have to now overcomplicate stuff. But it becomes a challenge, I think, as you gain more mastery.
Great. And the question I had on top of that is about sophistication of the market. Do you have ever tried to run an offer from the past nowadays, and did it work or not, or you never did that?
I mean, I have, but not super recently. Well, yeah, a couple of years ago, like 2019 into 2020, I took something that worked really well in 2016 and then ran it with Cody Bramlett, who is like a supplement offer owner, Science Natural Supplements in the US. And then that thing did really well. So it was like a metabolism thyroid type of offer. And I'd run it with my Christian supplement company. Then my, Laura had like, she ran it as, I forget what it was called, in like 2017 or 18, basically the same copy. And then she did several $1 million with it. And I did it with like Cody, and we did several $1 million with it. So, I mean, slight little modifications, but yeah, actually that worked. But it's been a couple years, but it probably depends on the niche. Like that's it, like thyroid metabolism, even in the US, people don't like, thyroid is not going to be like a $100 million like offer niche, but it's like a good $5 to $10 million offer niche. But like because of that, nobody in the US really like messes with it. And so then you're like, but I mean, that being said, if like I was to start a new offer, I'd think about messing with it again, because I'm like, well, if I do 5 to 10 million at a nice high margin, that's not the worst. So yeah.
Great.
What else you guys got for me?
We have questions from web guests, right?
Yeah.
People that send videos.
Do you want to go for?
Brazilians are crazy, man. They keep sending videos and questions, and
We have just We have just 150 questions from from other people.
That's it.
Just a few, yeah.
Just kidding. Did you send to Stefan the links for the video questions?
I'm send our drive link right now. Wait a minute.
Okay, so you watch it on your PC, and I will display it to the audience on YouTube as well. So just let me
So you
know
want me to?
when you receive
Okay.
and watch the question.
Okay, so I'm gonna wait. Where did I get them? Was that through the Instagram Messenger?
Yeah,
DM me?
I will send you your DM. Okay.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
If you want, I mean, maybe we can just listen to it and ask him, or I don't know.
Okay.
That would be easy for me if you guys want to just do that. I can't watch, but if you guys want to just like listen to it and then just ask me the question, that's probably the easiest way.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we can save him some time.
So I'll just show it to YouTube audience, and we can talk.
Hey, Stefan, my name is Lucas. I'm a copywriter here in Brazil and offer owner, and also a great fan of your work. So thank you. RMBC helped me a lot in the past year. And my question is, you are one of the greatest copywriters today, and I imagine that eventually some offers still don't have the result that you planned. And I want to know, how do you deal with failure, and how do you not let yourself be shaken by it?
The question is, how do you deal with an offer that doesn't sell, and how you do not get shaken by it?
Yeah, cool. It's a good question. Who asked it? Let's give him some love. Who is it from? Do we know?
Oh, it's our first
Lucas.
question, Lucas.
Lucas, that's his name. I know because he's my friend
Lucas.
and I saw that question earlier. Lucas
Okay.
Mabriga.
What's up, Lucas? I know he's not live, but I want to give Lucas a shout out. Yeah, like you have to understand that like everything is a numbers game, right? Like in sales, especially, and you're selling, you're writing sales copy. All that copywriting is, it's salesmanship in print, right? And so like every single thing you do, nobody bats perfectly. Nobody hits, I don't know the baseball analogy, but nobody's gonna, to connect every time, right?
Yes.
The best thing you can do as you get, better is your frequency, how often you connect increases. But, given that it literally doesn't mean anything, and whether you're, you can look at it, you can dissect, why didn't that work? How can I get better? There's two sides to this too, right? There's the copywriter side and the offer owner side. On the copywriter side, how can I get better? What mistakes did I make? Have experienced people, like, who know what they're talking about, look at it and give you feedback. Better to get it before you go live, but like, do a post-mortem and after action report, right? But then, mentally you have to understand, it's like the shots, you're gonna miss a lot of the time, and that's okay, right? All you have to do is, if you get, if you got 3 out of 10, if 1 out of 10 was like a home run, like you can still have a good career. If you get like 3 out of 10, you have a really good career. And if you get to like 4 or 5 out of 10, you're like a legend, right? And so the bar, and that doesn't mean it's going to be like in that frequency of work doesn't work. You might have 4, 5, 6 bombs in a row, and then 3 or 4 in a row that crush it. And so the worst thing you could do is just give up, right? And as an offer owner, kind of the same thing, really. It's like, why did this not work? Was it the copy? Was it other variables? And then, like, you can sit around, like what Justin Goff, who was my partner in Copy Accelerator, I bought him out of the mastermind, but I love him, so a friend and all of that. And he would always say that like the worst offer ever is a mediocre offer, right? Yeah. Because when an offer is great, perfect. When it's really bad, you're just like, throw it out. the mediocre offer, you spend all this time like trying to do this and that and dial it in. So I think you have to figure out, is it worth it, or do you just sort of, scrap it? Because that's the funny thing. The home run offers I've written, like, they're sort of just home runs right out the gate. Like, it's sort of like, it depends. There's also times where something's like looking pretty good. It's about break even. With a new lead, it could be better. It's like, there's exceptions to this, but like a true, like, just like home run offer is like, you just know it right away. And so, sometimes makes more sense to just go for those, because even if it takes 5 or 6 or 7 attempts, one of those will change your life and make you exponentially rich for the rest of your life, right? Versus like trying to get these medium ones to get to where they need to be.
Stefan, let me get you your opinion on something. But when you have this mediocre offer that, it breaks even, some days you make a little bit of money, some days you lose it. How long do you keep like putting effort into it, or you should just like leave it? What's your opinion about that?
I think it depends a lot on where you're at as well. So like, because like the guys for the CBD company that I'm partnered in, like, that's sort of where their offer was. But the problem is they had one offer, it was like pretty good. Then they went and made like 5 more offers, and they spent all this money, and then they're like, shit, we're out of money, right? And you're like, oh no. So like with them, it's like this offer that's like around break even on YouTube is like, if we can just get this a tiny bit better to where it's profitable, then we can scale this to like, $1 million a month, because it really won't take that much. And you're like, okay, so like, let's figure this out, right? Like the lead, there's optimization opportunities with like all kinds of stuff, right? Like I found like a stupid error yesterday where like half the time the video wouldn't play because of like a caching issue and the tech guy. And I'm like, let's fix that, right? And then today we're like, at like 150x ROAS, right? Or percent, not X, but and so like, they don't have the luxury of even starting out. These guys are like, their backs are against the wall. I mean, I could come in and like put money into it, but I really don't want to, right? I didn't come in. I want to just like, I like my equity, but now if I put money in, it's a totally different thing. Right now I can just help them, but I'm trying to help them because I want them to succeed. And then I want to make money from it, obviously. But their backs against the wall. So I feel like for them, it's almost like they have to kind of keep, and it's like good enough that it's like, there's probably those tweaks there. If I'm like you, I don't know how many offers you have running, but I have a bunch of like home run offers running and this mediocre offer running, and I know I have more opportunities, like, then I'm less committed to that offer. I'm like, yeah, let's try it for like a month or a couple of weeks or something like that. Have a team member, have someone do something, but then if it doesn't work, I'm like, all right, whatever. Does it 80-20 rule, right? These 20% of the offers are making me all 80% of the money. So do I want to keep worrying about this over here, or do I want to make sure these are still getting love and getting fed, and then try and create another offer that comes up here, right? And so that's the way I would approach that probably.
One thing that happens a lot here in Brazil, just to give you some context, is like people that have no money, they are just starting out in direct response, and they just make a VSL, they keep running, and it's a mediocre offer because they don't know copy a lot. And they just keep like testing new headlines, or like looking at the engagement graph on Wistia or whatever, and if trying to cut pieces of the copy. And my advice to them is usually, man, this is useless. Just get rid of this copy and write a new one. I never saw anyone like optimizing their way out of a mediocre offer. And for these kind of people that they don't have much money, they're just starting out, do you think it's better to just leave it and save some money and build a new VSL the next month? Or should they keep insisting? For them, money is really tight.
Yeah. And like, I mean, probably it depends, right? Like, because again, it also depends on experience. Like if you give me, and you, I'm sure the same thing, if you give me like a break even offer, I can probably take like a few hours of my time and make it like a profitable offer, right? And then it can scale. But then I also know what to do. Okay, monetizing the data on the back end. What about a call center? We're gonna call abandoned carts and partials. Can we cross-sell them with the call center, right? Like there's a million other things, right? Like, so I'm like, I have a lot more knowledge though. But if I was earlier on and I really need this to just be like a high profitable every day, on the front end kind of traffic acquisition side, and I'm not like as experienced, I think your advice is probably right. I would probably just like scrap it and just write something that converts like out the gate, and then just keep going for that.
Nice, great, yeah. Thanks.
Want to say something, Heitor?
No, it's okay. I think we can pass to our next question.
Next question. So,
hey Stefan, what's up, man? Here's Felipe. I am from Brazil, but now I'm here in Paris, and I ask for you, what are the 3 points, the 3 things that every copy have to be a millionaire copy? Okay, 3 points that every copy have to have. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
the next question, second question, is from one of the guests that we had here, is Ferini, and he asked, what are the 3 points that every successful copy must have?
Nice. I mean, 3. Well, a killer headline and lead, right? Like you've got to have that. Like, I mean, it seems obvious, but it's true, because if your lead sucks, like we talked about before, right? The amount of eyeballs getting to it. I mean, it's like, 3 is hard because there's so many things that it should have, but yeah, I mean, on a broad level, and then like a good unique mechanism, right? Something like novel and new. And one of the biggest mistakes people just make with their copy, even like lots of intermediate copywriters make this, and even lots of advanced copywriters forget this and make this mistake, and then they have to be reminded, is not relating it back to the prospect enough, not answering what's in it for me early and often, and continuing to do that. Like, you've got to just consistently, maybe you can relate, maybe you've experienced this, I was feeling this way. Have you ever felt that way? I'm going to show you a quick solution that can, help to solve XYZ in as little as 10 seconds a day. Like, little stuff like that. Because, like, for example, in like an emotional like story about someone like suffering, it's sort of like, you could have the best story ever that grabs someone's attention, but the person's just going on and on about how shitty things were for them. At a certain point, the prospect is like, why am I listening to this person just like bitch and complain for like, like, what am I doing with my life, right? You've got to relate back to like, and I'm going to solve it. There's a reason I'm telling you this. I found the solution. I'm going to share it with you. You can have a solution. Imagine how life could be if you had the solution. Paint a picture of life. So, you just see that a lot, because people will fall in love with like a story or a mechanism or whatever it is, but they'll get so excited about that they'll forget to like stop and like connect directly and relate directly back to the prospect who's interacting with the copy.
You wrote about it in the Black Hat forum. I think it was your first post, and I think it's amazing. Relate back to the prospect. So what would be the third point?
Well, I had the headline and lead. That one, I mean, I was thinking about like mechanisms again. I mean, I think you just really need to have like a unique. And again, if you want to go to like financial that doesn't have it, I guess usually a lot of them do have it, but like like there has to be a differentiator or a mechanism. There has to be something that makes what you're selling stand out from the market. Like usually it's the mechanism. So say even financial, right? Say there's no mechanism. So what is it usually in financial? It's like the guru. It's the person. They've predicted all these things. They're better than everyone else at predicting stuff. They're, they have all this experience. So then that's like part of their, unique differentiator is like the guru, the expert. Because it's sort of like, hey, meet Bob. Bob's like going to tell you like where to invest your money. You're like, I don't know who the fuck Bob is, right? So you need something that stands out. So yeah, number 3 would be like, there has to be a differentiator and something that makes it unique, whether it's a mechanism or a person or some kind of value or selling proposition.
And Stefan, just one thing regarding about that. The mechanism, when you are choosing it, what is the main thing that you look for it? Like, does it need to be believable, or does it just need to be new, or maybe both is better? Like, do you have a criteria for selecting a mechanism?
Yeah, I mean, both, like, believable is important. I want it to be like viral, and I want it to be intuitive and easy and simple to understand, so that I want somebody to hear it and be excited, and then they could go tell any of you guys in like 2 or 3 sentences, and be excited. They want to tell you it, and then you intuitively and immediately are like, "Oh shit, that makes sense. I never thought of it that way." That's by far the most important thing. The complicated mechanisms of like enzymes and mitochondria and it's not that you can't have that, but it needs to be like a very, here's the real reason like that you feel this way, right? Like it needs to be very quick and intuitive and viral. Basically, virality is a really underrated component of a good mechanism.
Yeah, that's true. Virality, nice. I agree with that. I also, when I write, something that keeps in my mind is that the mechanism needs to be concrete. People needs to imagine it and like maybe see it happening, or in his life, or sorry, her life. For example, I was writing a mechanism for a product that it was about cellular renewal. And then one thing that I did was to say, hey, you know about cellular renewal. It's like when you're in the sun, and then the sun hits your skin, and then your body makes new cells to protect you, and then your old skin, you lose it. And when I said that, I got people to imagine how the mechanism works of my product. And I think that was the part that actually drove the conversions. So that's why I asked you this question, because in my mind, when the mechanism is something real, something that person can relate to in his life, it works better. But that's just something that I do, and I wanted to know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it could be like, and it can be a visual metaphor, but yeah, like kind of like testable proof is even better. So, for example, one of the favorite things that I wrote for, and I was a partner in this offer, and it did really well, but the refund rate was high. There's like a tongue retaining device. It's called like a TRD, and it's basically an adult pacifier. So it's this thing you put in your mouth. It's for people who snore, right? You snore, and it holds your tongue out. So the testable proof is like most people can snore. It's not gonna be attractive. Sorry, Brazil, but right, I can do it. Right now, if I hold my tongue out, can't do it. Literally can't do it. And so you're literally like, do it yourself at home, right? Snore, like go ahead, like make a snorting sound. Now hold your tongue out and try. Can't do it. This thing holds your tongue out, right? Like, so it'll fix your snoring, right? And you're instantly like, that's it. It does so much of the selling for you. Now, unfortunately, you're sleeping with your tongue out like that, and you feel like it's not very comfortable. So the refunds weren't great, or were high. But that's like, I honestly, that was like my holy grail. It's like anything like, if I can find a product, if I was gonna start my own like kind of offers like now, and I don't know if I would even do supplement stuff, but I would find like some kind of invention or something where I could give people like testable proof like that. It was like, that's like a holy grail, because it's so easy to make the sale, because it's literally, I've proven to you it works, right? In like 2 or 3 sentences, I've proven to you that this will work. So yeah, I don't know, it's an interesting way to think about how you approach offer creation. If you could do, stuff like that where it convinces them like
this kind of
wheels are
is
turning.
The best proof. No, it's awesome. This kind of, I really think that these are the kind of conversations that the high-level Brazilian people they want to see, because they are looking for mechanism right now.
Yeah.
But like, if you're going to maybe find, I mean, if you need to choose between a testable proof for your mechanism or virality, what would you choose?
I really want to be both, though. I don't know. I mean, it's like if I do that and you do the test, then you're like, I'm gonna go tell somebody else to try it and show them, wow, look at that. Isn't that cool? So I think they're inherently connected. If I had to choose one, I'd probably go testable proof over virality, because virality could be, things could go viral that aren't relevant, but testable proof is like, I've proven to you that this works. Right.
And
so,
that's what will make the sell.
Yeah. Because again, if I like that, it works. I mean, I'm trying to think of, I need someone to just give me a list. Anyone in Brazil who watches this, if you want, you can DM me on Instagram and give me a list of things like that snoring thing, like that for other, just, I don't know, hit me up. And if I create an offer, I'll cut you in on it. Cause like, I just feel like it's just so good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
João's DAO. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, the João's DAO was the same as mine. How could I pick like a mechanism? And in our market that is not so sophisticated as US, I think we don't need so sophisticated mechanism as well. We just need to do like a approve and awareness mechanism. Am I right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think like, yeah, I don't know your market, but probably it's just pretty, yeah, it's probably not overcomplicated, which is what I like about it. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that. It's fun again, because I do stuff in other, I haven't done stuff in like Brazil, but like in Europe or wherever it is. And like, it's like same thing that the French market, I can talk about stuff that like was common in the US like a few years ago, but there it's like, and so it's actually easier to write copy, right? It's way easier to write copy there because like I can just be like brown fat, and they're like, oh, never heard of brown fat. I'm like, oh my god, perfect. All right, here you go, right?
Yeah, exactly. In Brazil, it's even easier, but you can't just come here because of government regulations. So it's hard to do business in Brazil. You need to have an insider.
I know guys now, though. I know people.
Yeah, some guys.
Stefan, before we move to the next question, I'd like to ask you about offers that doesn't work. I own a business with my wife, and she's a psychologist, and now she helps doctors to get approved on exams. But the past 10 years, she worked specifically with teenagers who wanted to pass the admission exam for university, specifically for the medicine college. So in that niche, the past niche that we were working, we had a lot of struggle to sell because the public was teenagers, so they didn't have enough money to pay for our product because they rely on their parents. So do you think that a good copy could sell to people who doesn't actually have the money to pay for it?
I mean, my immediate thought on this would be like, why were you selling to them? You should be selling to the parents, right? Like if the parents have the money, because it's an extra step. When you sell to them, you're like, go ask your parents for money. Nobody wants to do that. It's friction, right? Because it's like, you're like, hey, parents, you want your kid to go to university, fulfill all of your hopes and dreams for them, like have a great living, basically satisfy every desire you've had since the day where they were born. Like, this is the solution I can help, right? So to me, and I don't know the offer. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed that would work, but my immediate thought on that would be like, instead of selling to the kids, sell to the parents, and you might get better results.
Yeah, as it's focused on high performance for the people who buys it, I think it wouldn't work because the person who buys it needs to apply it. So if we sell to the parents and the person doesn't want to do what is proposed, they will not get the result. So our product would not thrive.
Yeah, but you could also, you could educate the parents on that in the selling process. Like, look, like we got it, but it's on you. You should buy this, and then, but you got your kid on board. If your kid's not on board, don't buy it. It's not a good fit. Like, you could still have that conversation with them, and including in your follow up, like the post purchase emails and things like that too. But because the alternative is selling to kids without money, it's like that's not going to work out really well. Yeah. Again, as soon as it's like, go ask your parents, like, it works on TV commercials to kids about toys, I guess, with their kids, with like really young kids. But it's just a different conversation because it's like then their parent has to like, any parent, a kid comes and asks them to spend money on stuff, they immediately are like, oh, I don't want to spend money. Like most of them are like, oh, good, little Timmy's ambitious, like, yay. It's like, no, I'm like, they have to be convinced. So like, You're selling the kid has to sell the parent has to sell themselves. There's a lot of selling happening versus like if you just sell the parent, that's it, right? That's one step instead of 3. And then after the sale, the parent needs to sell the kid, but then that's on the parent. And you're like, if they don't do it, it's not because your product's not good. It's because, okay, well, you know what I mean? Like you didn't, like, that's not your moral responsibility. Is like, get into the parent's hand and tell them to get their kid to do it. So that's my feeling on it,
Great. I wish I have this conversation with you before, but now that we shift to work with doctors to get admitted or pass the exams for their own qualification, now they have money and the business is going much better now. So I wish just I could have shifted before. So let's move.
You can always bring it back later. You can always bring it back once you're crushing with this for a while,
Yeah. Let's move to the next question.
Wait, I just want to say something.
Okay.
I have how would I say esteira? Like esteira de produtos. I don't remember how can I say it in English.
A line of products.
Yeah, a line of products in the same. Can I work with the same public as teenagers? And I think instead of just selling to the parents or the teenagers, I think you should sell to both of them, because as you said, like the parents that will buy your product, but I think usually teenagers, I don't know if this qualifies the right word, but they usually disqualify what their parents say. So if they don't want to do how can I explain this? If they don't want to do your product, I think the parents won't even buy. So I think you have to sell this for the both sides.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I think. I don't know how can you do it, but I think it will make more sense.
What about this though? You could sell to the parent, and then your upsell could be like a course on like how to get kids to like listen to their parents more, and basically like including, implementing the stuff that comes to it. But it could also be like apply to other things, right? Like how to get I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box, but then that way you basically can make more money because it's a logical problem. Hey, you spot this so exciting. This can make a huge difference for your kid. Here's the one thing we've run into. Sometimes kids are kind of resistant. Maybe that's not your kid, but if it is, like listen up. There's 3 reasons that kids actually resist life-changing content information like this, and this. That's why we developed this like very simple system that can help, and not just with like our product, but other things as well. Imagine if your kid was doing this, buy it now. So I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit evil, but that's kind of the way I would do it, maybe.
Very great insights.
Then you would make more money and gather both sides.
And help more people as well. So let's move on. Third question.
Hey, what's up, Stefan? My name is Gabriel Constantino, and man, I just can't believe that you're here supporting our Brazilian community. It means a lot to us because honestly, we have not so many players in our country who can really teach and share high-level direct response marketing. So thank you for being here, spending this time with us. Okay, so my question is, let's assume that copywriting is the new Olympic sport and you are training hard to be a top player so you can win your gold medal. You have 3 hours per day to study and practice every day for the next, let's say, 1.5 years. How would you organize your practice and study routine to be at the top of your game by the end of next year? Thank you.
Real. Man, all right, 3 hours to win the Olympics. 3 hours a day for a year.
Yeah.
I think it would kind of come back. I feel like I talked about this a bit earlier too, right? But I would. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm going to cheat, because then what would I be doing in the not 3 hours? And by that I simply mean, like, let's not rule out like exercise, good sleep, eating healthy, like mindset, going to bed early. Again, like if you really want to like, I'm trying to get a gold medal in the Olympics. Like I'm gonna be pretty disciplined in other areas of my life, right? Because that stuff all impacts how I'm going to actually train in my 3 hours. So I'm like pretty disciplined as a person in general. I have phases and seasons of my life and all that kind of stuff, right? But like, like that's important. The actual 3 hours, what I really do, I'd probably chunk it like this. I'd probably take like the first couple. What I'm debating about is like if I would write every day or not. Because maybe I wouldn't. Maybe like Mondays, I would mostly just be studying. I would watch like other, VSLs or dissect ads or whatever it is, and be studying copy that's working and like dissecting it, right? And then like maybe Tuesdays. Maybe I'm doing the same thing on Tuesdays. Maybe I'm doing half of that on Tuesday and half the time I'm planning or prepping for something. Because I probably try to write like a new piece of copy every week, but I might give myself like a day where like I'm actually just getting into the right mindset and mind frame. And like so I'm studying, I'm looking, I'm getting inspired. So maybe like the first day I won't even write copy. Maybe on Tuesday of each week, right? I mean on Tuesday, I'd maybe do a little more of that, like an hour of more studying to get myself, keep the juices flowing, review what I just had. And I would start going through, the prep process and like research and mechanism stuff, picking a niche and things like that. And then I would spend, a couple of days, 3 or 4 days writing it. So say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday into Friday writing it. And if we're going 7 days a week, because I'm just trying to win the Olympics, and like, Saturday and Sunday, I might have somebody review it who has higher level than me. I spend that time on phone calls with people who are like better than me, who are former Olympians, or who are at least Olympian competitors, and have them talk about the copy, dissect it. What do you like? What do you not like? And then because it's copy, maybe on Sundays I would do the same thing, but I would do it with people who don't know shit about copywriting, and I'd be like, hey, does this, read through this? Does it make sense? Do you have questions? Do you stumble anywhere? There's like the cub thing, right? It's like confusing, unbelievable, or boring, I think, right? And so like go through this and mark a C if it's confusing, a U if it's unbelievable, B if it's boring. And I would do that regularly and get feedback from both Olympians, but also my prospective market. And I would incorporate that feedback and then bring it into my cycle and start my cycle the next week.
Okay. And Stefan, so like new copywriters here in Brazil, they start by usually buying some other people course like RMBC or something.
Yeah.
And they don't read the classics. For example, I have here by my side 2 classics, so Robert Collier and also Gene Schwartz. And in your opinion, it's not helpful anymore to actually read these books, or should someone just see what's working now and keep reflecting on it, or should they go back to the classics? What's your opinion on that?
Your expression is the best.
because like I literally put a thing about how I didn't think breakthrough advertising was that important, and then Brian Kurtz, who owns the rights to publishes it, was like kind of sad about that. And I love Brian, and so like I don't want to just going around making enemies with like the nicest guy. Brian Kurtz is like the nicest guy on the planet. They're cool. It's cool to read them. I don't think they're that necessary. Okay. And why do you think that? Yeah, just why? Yeah. What's your like deeper opinion? I don't know. I just feel like you're writing for a modern era and modern times, and it makes more sense to study like what's working today and now. And I think there's a lot of good knowledge and even free knowledge and just studying stuff. If you're gonna buy a course, like whether it's mine or somebody else's, I mean, I still think mine's better than everybody else's, but like I just don't. like understanding the stages of market awareness and things is like cool, but like I mean I don't know, I read Breakthrough Advertising years and years and years ago, and I don't really remember anything from it except for like the stages type thing. And it was more, you know, and again, it's not that you shouldn't read it. It's a cool book. And probably there's all kinds of gems. If I reread it, I'd be like, wow, this is so neat. But if you're really just trying to focus on being good today, I feel like studying what's working is going to give you more context than what worked like, you know, 30, 40, 50, however many years ago.
Yeah.
Something
Something that I see here in Brazil is that people usually go straight to what's working out, and they make a lot of money because of that, but they don't really know what they are actually doing. They just know how to execute something and just copy something, and but they don't know like the foundation. So that maybe the classics will, I don't know, maybe help them. But it's very hard to actually translate something that, I don't know, Claude Hopkins told us like 100 years ago to like today's market. So maybe it confuses them more than they actually benefit from it. But I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like,
Brazil's
I mean,
such-
dude, I just, you know, I'm sure hopefully lots of people in Brazil know who like Frank Kern is, right? I love Frank. Great guy, great legendary marketer. I just did like a JV with him. He literally was messaging me while we're on this call. He's like, my boy, love him. So cool. I adore Frank. And but like, you know, like literally someone asked us about that on the call. Frank Kern's been doing this since 1999. Someone's like, where are like the 5 stages? And then we're both like, oh fuck, I don't know. Like what, you know what I mean? We're like I neither of us could even like answer it because we had to try to remember. But it was like the question wasn't that relevant to what we were teaching. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that you should buy Breakthrough Advertising or other books, but I would buy them like later once you're already making lots of money, like, and then you can afford $497 or whatever the hell he charges for that book. It's like a lot, a couple $100. I know you could go bootleg it or whatever, but let's assume they're gonna be, you know, not do that. But like then you got time, you got money, and then I think it could take you to the whole next level. Now you can go back. So, but like, I would just do it later on. I think it'll fuck you up more, right? If they're coming in, they're making lots of money. Go make lots of money first, right? And then fuck yourself up after that, and then figure it out from there. Is the way I would go.
Yeah, that's the best advice. Yeah, just make money and then figure out what's happening next. Because guys, one thing that I want to say to everyone that is watching is that Brazil is a huge opportunity right now, but it will pass because the traffic cost is always increasing. And there are a lot of new advertisers coming in every day. So now is the time that you need to put your offers out there and actually make money because it will be harder every year.
Yeah. I mean, again, I wish, like, I don't like to be like, it was easier back when and this, but it probably was. And like, so for me,
you
know, I wish I could go, if I could go back, knowing what I know now, I could go back in time, you know, 5 to 10 years. And like, God. I would be a gajillionaire, right? And so you guys are living in that time right now in Brazil, right? And some of these other markets where it's like, you know, take advantage of it. Yeah. I promise you, it'll only get harder. To your point, it'll only get harder. It'll only get worse. This is the best time ever. It's literally, you know, it'll only be worse next year. It'll only be harder next year. So don't wait to take action.
Stefan, let me ask you something. You said, and we know that we in Brazil are in this opportunity time now. Do it make sense to you come with your structure to Brazil, or you don't think you already work in US, you have great opportunities in US?
I mean, I'm really tempted. I'm just, for me, it's a shiny like bandwidth, right? Because like as you get higher level, like you know, like the stuff I alluded to before, it's like even with the copywriting, coaching, and training, and then I've got equity in the CBD offer, and then Luke, Mario, and I basically created a performance side where we're basically going in and taking a percentage of revenue or equity in 8-figure businesses to help them like dial in their copy and funnel. So we're doing it for Chance and Abdul of Modern Millionaires, Brooke Castillo, who runs the Life Coach School, does $42 million a year. And so like I would do 60 of those deals in the next year where, you know, that could easily make us a couple $1 million a month on that. the coaching can make me a couple $1 million a month. My cost center stuff. So I'm like, I got all this shit going on, and I'm like, I'm also an optimist because I'm an entrepreneur. So I think by this time next year, because I'm kind of in a lull. To be completely honest with you, not a bad lull. I'm still writing, I'm still active, but like I've been investing and building all this stuff, right? And it's sort of like I'm being quiet, and then I think like at the end of this year, and the next year, things are really gonna start gaining a lot of speed and momentum. So I expect to be doing like 30 to 50 million a year with that stuff, like really high margin though, which is important, right? Because you can do lots of revenue, like very high margin, 30 to 50 million, like within 12 months from now. Where right now I'm like and that's not including the cost actually. So maybe more. But let's say combined my shit does like 15 million a year now. And I've done like 100 million a year, but like right now it's like 15 million. I'm in like that phase, right? And like I think I'll be back at 30 or 50, maybe even 60 within a year from now. So all that being said, it's like Brazil is really tempting because I'm like, man, I want to go in there. I want a JV. I'm gonna hit up you guys. Like, I'll fuck let's go. Like, I'll supply the copy. You translate it. Like, let's partner. I can make all this money. But I'm like, is it worth it for me to do that, or is it actually a distraction for me to do that versus these other things that I have going now? So I don't know, because I'm just tempting. You guys are tempting me, but I have to. I really try to. Every time I overextend myself, I regret it. So I'm trying to be disciplined as well.
Yeah, it makes all sense. I understand what you said. One doubt it came to me right now is today in your businesses. Do you make your businesses focusing or on profit, or you make your businesses focusing on equity?
It depends on the business. I mean, most of my stuff is like profit driven. With the performance side that we're doing, if we take equity, I'd like to be in a place where it's equity in things that I think are going to sell, right? So, and so part of that is going to be like getting deals with like what I'm trying to do in the US is expand the copywriting world for people to be like getting involved with venture capital backed businesses, private equity backed businesses, things in the Web3 space, right? But things that are like there's more upside, and also we're like witches, like I'm like a witch because I'm like oh my god, like you get to do a few things and like the conversions double, right? And it's like it's actually very easy. Like our knowledge is like a superpower to these people, and they're willing to give away percentages of equity in their companies. So, but those types of businesses, I'm doing that because I'm hoping that we're gonna get to like a an exit or a liquidity event. The rev share stuff is like I hope you just scale to the moon and I'm getting a percentage of that revenue, and I want to replicate that 60 times. Like the one of like Brooke Castillo, realistically, without giving you guys the numbers on it, it's not crazy. I think we'll probably if it hits a modest target, we'll net $750,000 per year, right? So okay, cool. But now if I go like 50 or 60x that becomes pretty good, right? If I can 100x it, so I'm making 75 million US a year, that's pretty good. And I think we can probably do it actually. I'm trying to be strategic, not bring on so many projects right away that like we can't fulfill. But so yeah, so those are like rep, but then equity is like I want because then that just makes it more exciting. And my money's gonna be good over here. My money's good, right? So now the equity is like this exciting, it's fun, get that windfall, that crazy liquidity event. So yeah.
And Stefan, you know that ClickFunnels, I don't know how they got to their size, but I know that they have a lot of funnels that use info products as the front end, and then they sell the software on the back end. This is a very good model to scale SaaS companies. And SaaS, they have a very high revenue, how can I say that?
Predictable
revenue. So they have a lot of equity. And have you thought about this, about creating this model and approaching SaaS companies to just get equity and scale their SaaS?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we'll look at that. So to be completely honest with you, all right, going back to the performance stuff, we're working with like 60 companies in a variety of niches, right? Most of them aren't even health so far. It's like a certification program, a BizOp one, a health one, and then a large like lead brokers or fourth client where they spend like $3.5 to $5 million a month on like YouTube ads and like solar, healthcare, things like that. And we're going to be like basically creating tons of ads. And by the way, we're hiring writers from our Copy Accelerator Mastermind. They know we're doing this. Like give us money, we're gonna hire writers. We oversee it, copy chief it, and then obviously like on the ads for this guy, we're gonna write like ads. I'm gonna write some ads because I'm like, fuck it, why would I not? And like we basically have a rev share. We have a percentage of ad spend with that deal, right? But the reason I bring that up is because one of the most exciting parts of this whole thing is like the data that we're getting, because if we're doing all these companies that aggregate, right, in our portfolio of companies that we're either have rev share or equity in, aggregate will be doing like before long like $1 billion in like direct response and direct to consumer type stuff, and we're getting access to all of that data. So there's probably that alone is cool from like a teaching, coaching, get better type of model, but there's also the opportunity to potentially build platforms where we're taking that data and hashing it, using AI to make predictive analytics. There's like a lot of like, it may be frankly that the big vision for this is that in like, a few years from now, we're building like an AI powered SaaS platform of ourselves that can actually like optimize the shit out of stuff, and that becomes worth a lot of money. And to be completely honest with you, I sort of thought about that, but didn't really put it all together until right now. So you guys, maybe if I become a billionaire from that, I'll make sure to send you guys some nice care packages in the mail.
Yeah, please, Stefan.
Yeah.
Do that, please.
Nice. It's amazing how connecting bridges with people like Black Hat Forum has done has unlimited potential to create new things and prosperity and opportunities and money and offers. So it's really exciting to be here. Let's move to our next question, or do you have anything more to ask?
No, it's okay.
I'm gonna try putting on. I'm up at my creek house, and it's night, and the lighting's not like great where I'm sitting. I'm gonna try to put on a light over here and see if that helps to improve. Because I mean, notice people who watch the replay, I've gotten like increasingly darker. Might not honestly, but let me try. See if it makes any difference. Give me 1 second, guys. Let's see. Let's see if it made any difference at all. Yeah, a little bit, little tiny difference, not a ton, huge one.
Now you're even more beautiful.
Oh, thank you guys, really appreciate that.
So I'm going to show the fourth question.
Hi, Stefan, Thiago Filemon here. Thanks for your time. You are a great inspiration for us here in Brazil. I have a question for you about big idea. What do you think about big idea? What is big idea for you? Is the connection between mechanism and promise? Is the central argument of your copy? How do you see it?
I mean, I think we kind of covered it earlier, though, to be honest. Like, I mean,
Yeah, we
I think it's like something where, like I said, it's like often the big idea comes after. So focus on the mechanism first. Because even like the viral thing of like back to the snoring thing, like the big idea really is like, hey, if you hold your tongue out, you can't snore. But it's like the mechanism and the big idea, right? Really. So yeah, I feel like we covered that. I mean, I appreciate the question, so thank you for asking it.
Yeah, it would be a shame if
Thiago,
I wouldn't show Thiago, because he's a very special person. I'd like you to meet him at least.
Yeah, well,
he's
Thiago,
he's like
Go
the
ahead.
biggest fan. He works at my company. He's like my copy chief. And he really
Well, like give shout out to Thiago.
yeah.
Let's go.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So moving to the last question is from our partner here in the podcast, our co-host Elias. He would love to be here, but he doesn't speak English fluently yet. But he will learn to talk to you when you come to Brazil.
Hi, Stefan. I would love to be able to talk to you, but I'm still in the process of learning English. First, I want to thank you You don't even know me, but your method was responsible for changing my life and really improving my copy. Stefan, if you could go back in times when you discovered copyright, what advice would you give to that beginner Stefan to avoid his mistake and speed up his results?
Um, and yeah, the English was pretty good there. I wasn't. You guys made it sound like he was gonna be indecipherable, but no. What advice would I give? Um, don't worry about the money, which is hard because you're early on and you're like, I'm trying to eat, right? I get it, but like, don't worry about the money. Worry about getting good and getting results and getting good fast. So number one, like focus on becoming great and the money will follow. And it's like always true, right? Um, the breaks will come. Like number two is there's no make or break client. So don't like sit around obsessing over like one client or feeling like if you don't get one opportunity that now that was it, right? Like the clients that would hire me that I thought were going to be these life-changing clients often weren't. And then people who hired me who I thought were just completely random strangers and changed my life, right? So you can't predict it, and you just need to expose yourself to many opportunities. And so going back to like volume and repetition being important, right? You're going to get good from volume. You're going to get more opportunities from volume. Like one thing that Ian Stanley talked about, and like we did like a little mini event a couple years ago, and he's a good friend of mine. Like I love him, but he talked about like with luck, and it was sort of like, God, how do you describe this? It's almost like a funnel again, where like early on, you want to be like this. You want to be open to everything. Like there's so many opportunities, experiences, and and then later as you become more and more successful and whatever, then you can go like this because like talking about coming to Brazil. It's like I'd like to come to Brazil. Not like I'll come to Brazil to visit and talk and chill, but like to into the marketplace. It's like, but is that actually what's best for me? But like being open, and the same thing with like niches and opportunities and things like that. So I would look at that. I would not. I mean, so much of it, honestly, study mindset stuff. Like I think mindset's so important. You don't realize it until later. Read books. Like I love The Big Leap is a good book by Gay Hendricks. Books on like self-sabotage, understanding that so much of the shit that you're doing is just like your own bullshit mental programming, that like you're creating limitations for yourself. Like don't disqualify yourself, right? Don't you don't need to let the prospect or the market disqualify you. You don't need to disqualify yourself. So don't be afraid to go after opportunities, and you don't need to tell them, hey, I'm not really qualified. Like just come at it and come out with like a good work ethic, right? Don't put your competition up on a pedestal, because a lot of your competition is like lazy, fat, happy, tired, stupid, rich, whatever it might be. Even people who were great, right? There's many great copywriters who are just kind of semi-retired, and like you could maybe write better copy than them today than they could, because they don't care anymore. They cared, they don't care anymore. So don't put your competition on a pedestal. Man, I feel like I could probably have more, but those are some big ones.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Since you're talking about books, Stefan, what books do you gift most to people?
What I've gone through seasons and phases of this. So, man, it's hard for me because I think it depends on like the person too. I'm trying to think of like the books that are like really like there's weird ones. Like they're not copy specific though. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like I really like I like
That's my
Nassim
point.
Taleb. Yeah, I know. I mean, I like Nassim Taleb. So like, you know, like honestly, Anti-Fragile is people talk about that a lot. It's a great book, but like I would maybe read Skin in the Game. Honestly, if I was going to start with one Nassim Taleb book, I'd probably actually read Skin in the Game because essentially it's about having skin in the game, like, you know, having consequences to actions, right? And how you're better and more effective and going to care more and do better when you have skin in the game. So the same reason that politicians and the capital sort of like make decisions that have terrible consequences because they don't have any skin in the game. Like what happens if like the troops go die or, you know, people, like terrible things happen. They don't really have that much skin in the game, especially like you know, like journalists or think tank people and not even elected politicians, right? But they're like people who influence policy. So I like Nassim Taleb. I feel like there's a book that I've gifted a lot, and I can't think of what the hell it is now. So let's stick with that for now, I guess.
Okay, thanks. Taleb
Yeah.
is really awesome. People should read him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put on my list. I never read it.
You gotta
Yeah,
read
he's
it.
good. He's really good. And also, The Big Leap is one I've recommended to a lot of people though, because it's like explains the behaviors behind a lot of people and you know, why they self-sabotage and how to like avoid that behavior, because that's what happens, right? You get basically it's about if you operate in this like this elevated zone of performance and this zone of genius, and it's like it feels great, and then it doesn't last, and you come back down to here, and it's like why do you come back down to here? And it's like, well, here are the main reasons why, right? And it's different stuff. It's like, you know, like guilt basically of like surpassing peers in your community. It's all these different reasons, and then like it helps you recognize that and recognize that behavior, and then you know what you can do to fix it so you stay up here always operating in that zone of genius. So it's a very powerful mindset book. It's probably one of the honestly the book I've recommended to more people in our space than any other book, probably.
Oh, nice. Okay, maybe we can put these books in the comment section when we post it online. That would be good.
Yeah, if you want, we can send me the names on our DM.
I'll send you.
You send me? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
I will repost on our chat. Okay, till now we have 200 people watching us.
It's
More than 2
amazing.
hours now.
Still after 2.5 hours, you still have 200 people.
Yeah, 200 people.
You're a
Let's
legend.
go. Let's go.
Yeah, 200 people, and you can imagine that most of them don't speak English, so they are here trying to understand it. But after this, we will post with the subtitle, and everyone will be able to understand all the conversation.
Do you have any more questions, or should we go for the chat questions and then we finish? Because I'm
Also,
can I
sorry, go
finish?
ahead.
Oh, do you want to say something, João?
No, it's okay. You can
Oh, okay. So let's go to the chat questions. Do you have any questions that you separate, Heitor, or you're not seeing the chat?
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat. So if you have any questions you want to make, Stefan, please write here on our chat. Se você quer fazer uma pergunta pro Stefan, manda aqui no chat e a gente vai traduzir para ele, beleza? Então pega aí e manda essa pergunta aqui pra gente já terminar. A gente vai pegar só os melhores, tá? Que provavelmente vai ter muita pergunta, so we'll just pick the best ones. So we'll stay here more 5 hours.
So we go downstairs and get some tequila, and then I'll come back. Yeah.
Definitely. We will try to do like a presidential event, and you come to Brazil, and we'll be there. You will be there, definitely.
Perfect.
But I think these events should be in Florianópolis, not in São Paulo. Because São Paulo is the biggest city in Brazil, but Florianópolis is the magical island of Brazil. So I think we will enjoy more visiting us here than in São Paulo.
You tell me where. I'm gonna rely on you all. You tell me where. I mean, I'm gonna check out Sao Paulo though, but like, I'll tell me where, tell me when. Let's make sure I can make it. Don't do it during Christmas, but like, or New Year's and my daughter's birthday. But let's find some dates that work for everybody and get that shit booked. Let's go.
Nice. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. We can make.
You make a translator. I'll chill. I'll just teach. I'll teach copy for days. I don't care. I'm not trying to go to make money. And I love it, dude. I want to. My whole thing is like impact, right? I just want to impact people's lives. So like, just like get me a room full of people and let me help people. That's all I want to do.
Well, that's awesome. People here just want to learn from you, so we have a match.
Just let me see a question here. Robert asked, Stefan, I'm just starting out. Does VSL time length matters, or it depends on the niche?
So the question was for, does the length of the VSL, the amount of time on it matter? Is that what it was?
Yeah, if the time matter, or depends on the niche you are working.
It typically however long it takes to sell. I wouldn't worry about the time too much. Longer is usually better. The exception on that is sometimes if it's like a free product, like free plus shipping type thing, you don't need a really long VSL for that. It can be shorter and sort of like, this is more of a direct offer. But for anything where you're using a traditional VSL format where you're not kind of revealing what you're selling for a period of time, generally, time doesn't really matter. I mean, yeah, once you get over an hour and 10 minutes, it starts to get a little bit weird. But like overall, I wouldn't stress about it. If you're between 30 and 60 minutes, then you're fine. So yeah.
I think you have already answered this, but if you can answer really quick again. Fernando, we asked if you are going to write a copy for two different niches. Do you write it the same way with the same structure, or do you change it? It's from Paraguay.
Depends what the niches are, but it's generally still pretty similar. I mean, again, the one exception is sort of like the financial newsletter stuff. There, I'd probably just go model whatever is working currently in that niche. But generally it's the same. Generally it's a similar format for pretty much anything.
I have another question just came in my mind right now. It's about the I don't know, the limit between being too aggressive or not being too aggressive. How do you make that line?
It just depends. I mean, like, what do you? Yeah, well, there's like because there's different variables, right? There's like your own ethical and go ahead.
Yeah, I would say like what do you consider unethical and what do you consider, oh okay, this is good. For example, in three different niches like health, would you write about cancer, curing cancer, or in financial about write about winning the lottery as you gave us an example?
Yeah, I mean, so no, I would never, but I would never do cancer. The lottery thing, I mean, I did, but I didn't like.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do it now.
But I never would do cancer personally. But that was my own line. I try to not be. I think unethical is when you're just blatantly lying to people, right? Which the lottery thing was, so it was unethical. I shouldn't have done it from a purely ethical standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's people in the cancer niche like that. Where it gets kind of complicated is like, there's an entire docuseries of like the truth about cancer from like, Jeff Hayes and Revealed Films. And if you talk to Jeff, like he firmly believes that stuff. They've got incredible doctors and oncologists who are like, cancer is not understood well. And, there's all these things that you could be doing. And if I was diagnosed with cancer, I'd probably go talk to Jeff and be like, hey, what are my options? Like, you know what I mean? What can I do here? So is it like unethical because it goes against mainstream Western medicine? Like, no, right? But if you're like selling a sugar pill and you're like, this is a magical cancer cure, then you're a piece of shit and you're unethical, right? So there's gradients to it, I feel as though.
There isn't a line,
I think
it's
even
just a gray area.
yeah, and like even there, it's like, okay, look, there's like exciting and promising new cancer treatments that like there's like things that like Western medicine doesn't talk about, like that we want to share with you. Like to me, that's not like predatory. It's like if you have good information to share and you're telling that, but if you're like, buy this product and you will cure your cancer, that to me is a line I don't want to cross because I don't give people false. And my dad died of cancer, right? And so my best friend has cancer right now. She's texted me, tumors are down 99%, which is fucking amazing, using Western medicine, side note. So it's working for him. But like, which by the way, I would never talk about that publicly normally, but it's to Brazil, so it'll be okay that, because he's not, it's like super, this guy's got cancer. But, so, but I guess like, it's just like, yeah, like I don't want to like give people false hope or like, yeah, and then let's go to weight loss. Cancer is easy. All right, what about weight loss, right? Take this pill and you drop, 30 pounds in the next 60 days. Like, no, you fucking can't. But like, so technically it's no different. I wouldn't do that. But I'm also like, but what if you give them like a guide, like a diet, and keto, intermittent fasting, all that, and you're like, hey, follow this guy too, and you could drop like 30 pounds in the next like 60 days. Like, they probably could, right? I mean, and so then if you're like, you will absolutely, if you follow this advice, I honestly I won't say it because like you're not allowed to, but like to me, I'm like reverse type 2 diabetes. If you like went keto and intermittent fast, you could probably, it's very easy to reverse type 2 diabetes for most people. I have friends who are Harvard doctors who are like, oh yeah, you can reverse type 2 diabetes, but can't say it. But that to me is like not really unethical because like it's bullshit that people try and tell you have to buy medicine. So it's very gray is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. It's very gray, which is why I don't judge people. But I think the clear cut lines is where like you just know you're lying. If you're like just straight up selling a bullshit product and telling people that they're guaranteed to get a result, that's where I think it's unethical.
This is a conversation that I have with almost every guest we have here, and Matheus Hockenbach, one of previous guests, said that he's trying to be more compliant in his copies, and he's experimenting that being less aggressive is not affecting his sales after all. So
yeah.
So the secret is not being too much aggressive. That's not what really sells. I think following your method, for example, is much more effective.
I mean, Nick Daniel talks about that all the time. Like, he's the CEO of V-Shred. I wrote like Burn for them, which did over like 100 million, and some other stuff for them too. And they do 205 million US a year, more than that probably now. But he always says like the only reason they were able to scale is because they went white hat, and then he's like, it's so much easier to be like white hat than black hat. He's like, it's so much easier. He's like, accounts don't get shut down as much. Like, you can be everywhere. You can be on your channel. You can like get all this stuff, right? It's actually much easier to scale. I think people do the more aggressive black hat stuff because they see other people doing it and they think they have to. That's how it was for me. I thought that's what you did. I'm like, oh, I guess that's what you do. So then I did it, and I didn't realize that I could actually have lots of success. I mean, go back to skincare, right? Jao, you do skincare. It's like, like 2 drops of this like can help make you look and feel years younger. There's nothing wrong with saying that. It's very obvious. Skincare gets people results. A good skincare product, imagine like diminishing the appearance of wrinkles and fine lines, like a bright, radiant, like or dewy glow to your face, the complexion like a newborn, like supple, soft skin. Like skincare does all that kind of stuff. So I love the skincare niche because it's actually very like, like you can say all that, no, that's like not compliant, right? But it's versus like magic. Take this probiotic and you're gonna lose 60 pounds tomorrow, right? So yeah.
In Brazil, one thing that people do is that they do black hat stuff, and as you said, just because everyone's doing it, and they just keep copying each other out, and that's how it works here. And also, one thing is that actually another thing is that even if people try to be white hat, they don't know how to do it, because Facebook is like crazy shit happening over there. We don't know anything on how to actually make the copy compliant. But one of the best things that I did at Now Life was going full white hat, and we can scale like so much more because of this, because our accounts are not getting shut down. And even if you lose performance in your copy, the traffic will keep like optimizing, and then at the end of the day, the conversion will be the same, but you will have a bigger ad spend. So it's just better to go white hat. That's something that the Brazilian market doesn't know yet. But since now Stefan is talking about it, maybe people will actually pay attention to it and start like having a more professional business.
Maybe. I mean, in the US, a lot of people still don't get it though, too, to be honest, right? There's like the whole ClickBanky world, and then people, and again, it's not, so, and I try to judge people on it. I just think like, I just want people to know there's a better way and another way, and it's actually not that hard of a way, right? To your point. It's like, in fact, it's better for a lot of people. And so you don't have to go black hat to, make a fortune, basically.
Yeah.
I got here a really interesting question. And João Hazaki make it. Actually, it's 2 questions. He asked Stefan first, how would you like to know your height? And then about copy, did copy help you in a social dynamics perspective, like socially with people, or you're just a natural good communicator?
The first question was my height.
Yeah.
Do you guys do it like the way we do it? I don't know. So I'm 5'11". I don't know if that's like how you guys do it, but
No,
Yeah, I
it's
think
centimeters.
what do I do to translate it to? What's your guys' unit of measurement?
Centimeter,
it's
meter.
It's one,
meters.
180, I think.
In meters or centimeters? Centimeters, right?
Maybe that 180.
In centimeters and 180 centimeters.
Yeah. but
So
why?
pretty average.
So
What was the second question again?
he asked you, did copy help you in a social dynamics
Oh,
perspective?
Yeah, I'm playing with that more. I was thinking about that today because I'm about to start doing a lot of like podcasts. You know what I mean? Like, and I have a friend, really smart dude, who's like a coach of mine actually. And we're talking about how even for me on podcasts, like not like being a copywriter is great, but like in the US market and being like, if I'm like a persuasive, I'm a master of like persuasive communication, right? Or whatever it is. But I thought about, because it is true, it's like all the factors, like whether it's social or like, okay, like relate it back to the reader. So when we have a conversation, like talk more about them than you, right? Like, which by the way, if you're really interested in somebody else and you have a conversation with them, then they like love you because they're talking about themselves all the time and they feel understood, right? That's like a copy principle. Actually, that might be like my next big like project from an educational component here, is trying to show people how much other shit this relates to, right? So like, yeah, that's one social aspect. I mean, curiosity, open loops in conversations, standing out. There's all kinds of ways you can do it. You can be really, I'm not like crazy, like intentional about it, because I'm not like a pickup artist, but if I was, I mean, if I was trying to get girls, like that's copywriting, right? A lot of what you're doing there is like copywriting. And then even like with like parenting, right? So like pattern interrupts, right? They're big. Like my friend actually pointed this out to me the other day. So if my daughter, she's 4.5, she's fixated on something. If I pattern interrupt her, she wants like this juice, and I'm like, she wants apple juice. I want apple juice, and I'm like, all right, so you want the goat blood? She's like, what? I'm like, do you want the goat blood, or did you want the zebra? You want the zebra juice? And she's no, like, well, I want the. And then she's like laughing, and then she goes from like tantruming to like totally different state, right? You take her to a different mental state by bringing in like a pattern interrupt. And then even just applying copy to stuff too. Like there's a great copywriter, young guy. I mean, earlier on in his journey, he's around my age, a little bit younger than me, but he passed away in Greece. Like our club was super sad. His name is Eric Panter, and our community. He was my mastermind and stuff like that. And this happened just 2 nights ago. So a lot of people were asking me how I could help or how they could help, and then his mom had posted about it on Facebook on his wall, and so then I reached out to his mom, and then was like, hey, people are asking, do you want us to do a GoFundMe? Like, yeah. So I started GoFundMe. I actually haven't checked it in a while, but it's at over, I don't know, we raised at least $25,000 for the funeral in the last 12 hours. It might be closer to 30 now, because like I said, I haven't been on in a while. And but I mean, part of that is like, it's a network, but it's also like the copy, even the copy of the GoFundMe. So it's like, how do you position when you're raising money for a funeral for somebody on GoFundMe, right? It just applies to everything. So that goes beyond the social dynamics, but like, yeah, I think most people don't, like, they look at copy in this little box, but it's like copywriting is just sort of like a skill set that's actually, I mean, sales, dude, like building rapport, like doing the math, painting a picture, like future pacing. I mean, like you can use it in everything. It's like really not just for the written word. So yeah.
Yeah,
I want to see where we're at with GoFundMe. I'm gonna find that out. But sorry, go on.
it made total sense. Now, Stefan, I have my last question to you. Not talking about copy, but talking about entrepreneurship. Like, you've been talking about entrepreneurship. What advice you would give as a business owner? Not talking about copy, but talking in a business sense.
Like in general, I mean, like early on, like where in the journey is the person I'm giving advice to?
Sorry?
Where in their journey? Because I think there's different advice for people in different stages of the journey of entrepreneurship. So just sort of like advice to entrepreneurs is kind of like, it's broad. Like, so, I would need to know more to give good advice.
Yeah, I could say for people that are in an intermediate level, not so advanced, but the person is not also a beginner entrepreneurship.
Let's put this in terms of numbers. Like, he owns a business that makes how much money?
Yeah, let me think. A person that makes 100, I would say 200K dollars per year, something like this.
And they're a business owner, and they want to grow or go to the next level. I mean, honestly, at that level, like learning to delegate, learning to build a team. Like, what happens there a lot is you hire somebody, then you don't actually spend any time to like train them or invest in them or help them to become good at their job, and then you get frustrated that they're not doing their job well, and you're like, I could just do it myself and better. And then you do it, but you don't fire them right away. They kind of feel alienated and they don't know where to go or what to do. Their self-worth and self-esteem goes down, their morale goes down, then you really are mad at them. Eventually you fire them, but then you're like, oh shit, I can't hire good people. But it's like, really, especially earlier on, it's like you need to spend time with the people you hire and look at them as investments, because if you spend that time, it's gonna take you time. You can't just hire them and abdicate. Meaning you can't just hire them and be like, all right, go rush. You have to get them to where you need them to be, but you're doing that because once they get there, they free up so much of your time, and they're ideally, generating revenue and adding value to the business. And then that frees you up to do it again and again and again, until eventually you hire the person who goes and hires and trains the HR, the team and the systems and things like that. But early on, it's like, hiring is great and you should probably do it. But you need to invest in those people, not money, but like your time and energy and effort. And then you have to be okay with their decisions, right? Give them autonomy, because they might solve a problem differently than you're going to solve it. But unless it's like absolutely the wrong way to solve it, it's okay that it's different, right? So like, if 90% of the time, let's say like 80% of the time, they solve it in the same way. 50% of the time, they solve it in the same way you would have solved it. 40% of the time, they solve it in a different way than you would have solved it, but it still works. And then 10% of the time, they have a terrible idea. So like, step into the 10% of the time, but the other 90% of the time you don't. And so now if you have somebody like going and solving problems or fixing things or doing whatever it is, writing copy, you come out way ahead, and now you multiply that, strategically. So that still invest in mindset coaching. Like if you're only doing 200,000, you're probably not thinking big enough, and there's probably a lot of reasons why, and there's mental blocks, and there's your own limiting beliefs, and there's the fact that like your mom was like always hiding her purse in the pantry when you were a kid, and weird shit that happened that we all like, there's some weird reasons why. So, invest in mindset, and then think about like leverage, and think about how you can just constantly unless you really want to be the technician, the person working. Oh, the E-Myth is a great book, by the way. Another book, Michael Gerber, the E-Myth, right? It talks about this a bit, right? Like if you want to be like the hands-on technician, like writing, then cool, but you're not really a business owner. You're like a laborer, right? So if you want to be a business owner, you have to be able to like remove yourself from the technical work, the labor, and you have to look at like leverage. How do I leverage things? How do I get these outcomes where people are doing it for me and I'm just steering the ship, right? And like look at being a leader, a lot of stuff like that. So it's a journey, it's a fun journey, but people are business owners, but they feel like they have to do all the work. And it also comes down to mindset, because sometimes like, well, if I'm not working hard, I don't deserve the money, right? There's a guilt that comes from like they're getting money, but they feel like they're not working, so they feel like they have to work hard. I have to be like 80 hours, 100 hours a week. I got to be working the hardest of everybody. If I'm not doing that, then like, I'm a bad person. And there's like weird mindset programming that's not really true at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. One thing also, Heitor, that it would be cool. I don't know if this question is for you or for someone in the audience, but there's a podcast by Naval Ravikant. It's called How to Get. I really like this podcast. It teaches us about leverage, and it's also really useful to on how to delegate. There are two books that I really like. One of them is High Output Management by Andrew Groove. It's one of the best management books that I read. And the other one is The Great CEO Within by Matt Mockery. It's also a really great book when it comes to managing people and also the processes. And if you want a step-by-step or more organized thing, you can read the Ready, Fire, Aim 0 to 100 million in no time flat, which is from, I think, Mark Ford from Agora, or I think it's from him. And that's also really good. I think that maybe this can help you guys out.
Yeah, those are some great recommendations. I only read Ready, Fire, Aim. I haven't read the other two, but I wrote down the other two because I've heard of the high output management one, but I've not read it. But I'm gonna order it now.
It's awesome. Yeah, I recommend it.
Stefan, I really like Heitor's question, and it gave me an insight of how was it your transition from Stefan copywriter to Stefan entrepreneur, like business owner, and how this happened in your life?
Yeah, I mean, through lots of ongoing mistakes and quality, but when I started the supplement company and the supplement offer, I was good at writing copy, so I wrote really good copy, and like I hired some people, and realized I didn't know shit about running a business, and that's pretty common, right? It's the same reason why a lot of like freelancers who want to start agencies, I like warn them on that. It's not that you can't start an agency, but it's like it's different. Because I'll come back and answer your question, but just I want to riff on this for a minute because I think it's important. Because it's like, hey, I'm getting good at freelancing. I've got demand. I'm turning away customers. I'm also tired of working these long hours. I want to be on the beach. I want to be a business owner. So I'll go hire, copywriters underneath me, and I'll just do the fun part, which I'll go close the business. I give it to them. I'll make money. I can scale more. Life's gonna be good. And then like what actually happens is like, all right, cool. You don't train them, like I talked about earlier, right? So now they're here, but they need more guidance. You don't actually spend the time training them. You have no experience managing people. You don't put SOPs, systems, and processes and shit like that in place because you've never done it before. Like you have no idea how to actually run a business, and so suddenly, like you take on this work, the freelancers aren't performing at a level you think is good, but you don't invest in actually making them get good, or you hire the wrong people because you have no experience of hiring. Like all this shit happens, right? And so then you're like, you make less money, you're spending more time, clients are pissed off, you hurt your reputation, And that's why the agency model is overrated for lots of people. Not that you can't do it, but you need to be wary of like you're becoming a business owner. And for me with my supplement company, it was kind of similar. And so like we had like tech issues. So I hired like a developer, and the developer was like, I can build like custom stuff for everything. We don't need to use any of the out of the box stuff. And I'm like, and I can do it in like a couple of weeks. And I'm like, all right, sounds good. You're the expert. And then it was like 6 months later, and it worked. I'd spent like over $100,000, like, all that. I had like team members who were dysfunctional and like screaming at each other in the hallways of like the co-working space where I had set up. So I basically realized, first I was like, all right, I'm actually in the technology business, which you kind of are as an offer owner, because if your tech doesn't work, like nothing else matters. And, on funnels and things like that, right? Your tech stack. And then Q&A, like going through, like if like, I can't tell you how many times I'll go through shit when I'm involved in an offer, and I'll find like 5 things that aren't working that should be fixed or optimized. And we've been running for like, months or whatever. And I'm like, no one cares as much as me. But if I go in there, I can find it really quickly, but I have to care. Right. So, we go train people to hopefully care as much as you, but if you don't train them, then it doesn't happen. But so like, I'm kind of a tech company. I got my tech right. Not hard. I'm not building new technology, but I need to like actually have my tech needs to work. And then I basically was like, I actually need to become like a leader. So I read like, Principle-Centered Leadership by Stephen Covey, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. And actually built like, like principles and values for our business, and started having regular meetings. I had KPI reporting. I had people, weekly KPI reporting. I had to get financials. I had to understand. I hired like a fractional CFO company that would come in and like basically, I'd understand data and numbers, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm making money or not, right? Just because there's money in my bank account doesn't mean I actually made money, because there's a lot of things. There's like, inventory, there's like delays and lag times and all that. So basically it was a trial by error on that. I realized like I had to like actually learn how to run a company, and I invested a lot of time into being a CEO, and we went from 1 million to 23 million in a year. So it worked pretty good. But then I get away from that because I go back into my freelancer copywriter hat, and I'm like, shit, like that's a different mode of being. So like the challenge for me is like, how do you reconcile those two? And I'm at this phase of my life. I will never not be a copywriter, and I'm never going to not write copy for stuff I'm involved in, because like it's too high of an amplifier. But more so now, it's like get other great copywriters, work with them on the ideas, all this other stuff, let them write the copy more often, and I can come in and like work my magic. And that's where I'm at today. I could keep writing pretty much from scratch, but I have bigger ambitions and dreams, I guess. So, but it's a long-winded way of saying it was kind of trial by fire and jumping in, but I fortunately had enough. I mean, dude, I thought I was gonna go like bankrupt multiple times with that supplement company. I mean, I was very close to not be able to pay payroll. I owed people money at different points in time, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, because like shit broke and I owed for inventory or media, things like that. It was very stressful period of time. But ultimately it taught me stuff, but I'm still learning. I'm still going back to it now as I'm building big things. I'm like, I need to, and I have to fight the instinct to do it myself. That's the biggest and most difficult thing, is if you're going to build at scale, is like fighting the instinct to want to come in and do stuff. If I write the copy, I'm the best copywriter in the world. It'll be faster. I'm like, sure. But like, if I'm trying to do something massive and build like a 9-figure or 10-figure sort of thing over time, I can't be the one writing the copy. I got to trust. I can look at it and give them feedback until they get to the point where I don't have to even look at it. Would be great. So long answer, but hopefully helpful.
Yeah, that's really great, Stefan. And your answer was actually awesome to me, because I think that I'm also doing the same thing. I used to write all the offers at my company, and then we started doing more software. Then I got away from it. I still look at it, review something here or there, but at the end of the day, you have to trust people, and that's really, really hard to actually trust them. But that's a challenge that I'm going through right now. So it was awesome to know that other people are also having it too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to be like, you have 10 people are doing stuff like 80% as good as you would have. You're like way ahead, right? Yeah. I mean, like, so just gotta think about it that way.
But can you keep yourself in the game if you don't write a sales letter from scratch, how do you do it? Because at the end of the day, you still have to get results, right, for your clients.
Yeah, I mean, right now my answer is yes, because with Copy Accelerator, I'm looking at hundreds of pieces of copy like a month. With Luke and Mario, we're like, I'm working with them on like the mechanisms, the big ideas. I'm reviewing the copy, the leads. I might rewrite stuff. Like I'm involved, and they're basically shadows of me, trained with me RBC. They're a replication of me. Other copywriters as well. I'm immersed enough, but I think to be completely honest with you, and this will be disappointing for the audience maybe because it's like you guys look at me like as the Gary Bensabenga, right? But like to be completely honest with you, I probably have to give it up. Like one of the great things that like I really enjoyed my time with Grant Cardone last week. I mean, like, you know, he's got a controversial reputation, but he's super fucking smart. And he basically was saying that, like, you know, in order to get to the next level, you usually have to like kill something that you love and usually something that you're comfortable with, right? And so for me, frankly, it's not just the writing copy, it's the reputation, right? I mean, if you look at like, I may have to give up the reputation as like the best copywriter in the world. And I can still look back and be like, I was the best copywriter in the world. I'm still a really good copywriter, but I'm no longer the best, right? I'm not there yet because I still have written some stuff actively, but it's like I have a decision to make, right? Do I want to be the best copywriter in the world? That's pretty cool. People in Brazil think it's dope. Like I can go there and, you know, high five people and shit like that, right? So it's like that's cool. I'm like, but do I want that, or do I want to build like, you know, billions of dollars in value and have an impact on billions of people in their lives, and still take the principles of copy, right, to everything I do: public speaking, presentations, pitches, fundraising, one-on-one interactions, right? Like, it's still, that's the thing. It's like copywriting is more than just the words in the script, right? So I think I would still have that with me, but I would have to give up. What I have to give up is the reputation where people look at me and say he's the best copywriter in the world. And I think I'm going to do that, frankly. I mean, not overnight, but I think that's what will happen. But it's hard because it is a big part of my identity. But where I really want to go, I want to do such big and impactful things that I think I'm going to have to give it up.
Yeah, you're completely right. Sometimes you go up in a mountain, then you see that if you need to go up, I mean, if you want to go even higher, you just have to go down the mountain and go another way. So there's only so much that being a copywriter can make you, and if you really want to have billions of value and people impacted, you need to have a good position of leverage. And to do that, I think it's better if you just have a company. It's better to be a business owner in that way.
Yeah, and I think that I can still be, because of what we're doing, and I'm going to have a giant ecosystem of incredible copywriters that I am working with, reviewing copy, seeing what's working, getting data. I think I'll be able to teach, because I never wanted to be, was like, I still like teaching, right? Even if I was like a billionaire right now, I would like still teach. Like Grant Cardone is a billionaire, he still teaches, right? Like it's like, I think if you like to teach, you like to teach, and it's fun that you get paid for it. It's cool, like it's pretty great. But if you like it, it's like, oh, I can't believe they're paying me to do this, right? How cool. And so I never wanted to be the guy who is up on stage talking about copy and then like, this worked 5 years ago, 8 years ago, right? And you're like, you have no credibility, right? So I think the mental adjustment for me is that it doesn't have to be stuff that I wrote, though. If I can sit there, sure, someone might be like, you haven't written anything new in like 2 years. And that's not true now. I've written stuff in the last like month, but like, we'll get to that place, right? I haven't written anything new for 2 years. But it's like, yeah, but my entire team did. We wrote this, it's doing this, we wrote this, it's doing this, we wrote this, we did this. I was involved in all these things. Here's the data. Like, if somebody doesn't want to learn from me because of that, because like I didn't write it, but like my close-knit team that were literally in a Slack talking about all this stuff wrote it, and I have all the data and I know it works, like that's really their loss and not my loss, right? And
For
I have to
sure.
accept that some people might not like me, but yeah.
That's awesome. I never thought of it that way. That's cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now we are at with more than 3 hours of live, and we have our still 160 person with us.
The
And
Warriors.
do you have any question, Ygor or João?
Oh, for me, I would spend like 24 hours talking to Stefan. I think he's just an amazing person, and everything you said, it goes beyond my expectations. So I
Definitely.
would continue this forever, but in respect of for your time, we have to put an end to this conversation. But we will have more opportunities to share and talk and share ideas and I
Yeah,
think we don't need to spend all the time together right now.
yeah, I'm really grateful for you accept to participate from our podcast because you're the first American to come here, and also I want
Nice.
to thank João for coming here too because he's considered the number one copywriter in Brazil, and I'm really happy. It was a really good conversation, and as the year said, it go, how would I say, superou minhas expectativas.
Beyond
Beyond
my
expectations.
Yeah,
expectations.
beyond my expectations. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And you can feel free to come to Brazil because everybody here loves you. Everybody here uses your method, the RMBC, and this is it. Thanks.
Yeah. Also, I would like to say something too. Thank you, Stefan, so much for being here. People, as I said in the beginning of this call, this podcast, people here think that you are like a god or something. It's crazy, but the RMBC just works, and people are making a lot of money here. Lives are being changed by the method. And well, that's it. Thank you for being here. And if you want to do something in Brazil, just let me know. We can do stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really appreciate you guys having me on. Super fun for me. Like I just, it was 3 hours, but it was a fun 3 hours. I enjoyed talking and chatting, and for everybody who watches the replay, who's on live, thank you. So, obrigado, is that what you guys say? So thank you over there. I'm passing it right.
Obrigado.
Obrigado, yeah.
That's
Exactly.
it.
Obrigado. Obrigado. And that's just like the token white guy trying to speak another language, but like obrigado, but thank you. And if you watch the replay and you make it to the end, thanks for watching the replay too. And yeah, if you guys really appreciate it, I'm happy to do another round sometime in the future too. And let me know, guys, I really want to come to Brazil. I'm super down. I want to make it happen. So you guys just tell me when to show up and we'll make that happen too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's record
definitely.
this, guys.
So if you come here for any reason, you tell us on our Instagram so we can meet each other in person. It will be a pleasure.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it for like some kind of like event though. I mean, like I don't have to organize it, but let's figure it out. I mean, if I come, generally I'll hit you guys up too. But like, yeah, I mean, I just want to. We'll figure it out, man. That's my goal is to come in the next 6 months, let's say. So let's make it happen.
Amazing.
I'll talk to how to the leader of the forum. Maybe he can figure something out about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
We can make something about this. So for everybody that is watching the live right now and want to have more content from Stefan, he's on our fórum, Black Hat. So if you're not on Black Hat, se você não tá no fórum ainda, link na descrição para você poder ter mais conteúdo do Stefan, beleza? Então pode ir para baixo, entra com o nosso link que você ganha uns benefícios também por entrar com o nosso link. É isso, and I think this is it.
Bye bye,
Cool.
people.
Well, thank you all. Really appreciate it. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks. See you.